Hello, friends. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Hanky Law. Hanky Law likes solving your problems when they happen, but loves anticipating them so they don't. They provide real people with real solutions to help get your life moving forward. Hanky Law provides criminal defense, family law, personal injury, and civil law. Listen, the legal system can be intimidating and scary. If you find yourself in the legal system, it's important to have lawyers who can explain the process, navigate the legal system, and protect your rights. Hanky Law's experienced attorneys use their knowledge to skillfully defend their clients. Maybe your family is needing representation during a stressful or emotional event. Hanky Law can help. Hanky Law is comprised of Blake and Kelsey Hanky with a family of their own, so you can trust they understand the value of keeping the best interests of you, your finances, your future, and the long-term interests of your children in mind. If you are needing legal help in North Dakota or Minnesota, go to hankyjustice.com or call 701-746-4529. Hanky Law, counselors and attorneys at law.
Welcome to the Cloud Surfing Podcast.
Cool. Today on the episode we have Colt Mavity. Colt is a world traveler and also a dope motherfucker. Colt, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jake. I'm totally jacked,
Dude,
man.
I think the last time I saw you was when I pissed my pants in the bar at Bray's graduation. I think that was the last time I saw you.
I'll say this: I definitely don't remember that event happening.
That was a tough night. Tough night for everyone.
It seemed like every time I came to visit you guys, it was just a blur,
A fucking blackout every time. Yeah.
Yeah, Bray is
Kid knows how to throw down. The kid knows how to fucking throw down, dude. Yeah, he was and now he's a chiropractor, so it all worked out. It all worked out in the end.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
That night at the loft, I got lost at the other side of the bar looking for all you guys, and I ended up pissing my pants because I was trying to go to the bathroom and I got lost in the crowd. Yeah.
I honestly don't know if I honestly don't think I heard about this until right now.
Yeah. I went up to Bray real quiet because I asked him not to tell anyone. It's in my pay-per-view now, so I don't give a shit. But I was just like, dude, I think I just pissed my pants. And he's like, hey Kelsey, guess what? Jake just. I'm like, no, shut the fuck up. God damn it, you aren't supposed to tell everyone. Yeah.
Well, he didn't tell everyone because I didn't know. So at least there was one person he didn't tell.
He kept it hot. But yeah, it was a good time. So, dude, what's your most recent adventure been? What have you been up to besides being a teacher?
Well, I'm not even a teacher anymore.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Got bored?
Pandemic.
Oh.
Pandemic, honestly. You know, when the pandemic started and we transitioned to that online learning, it just totally changed, my perception of everything. And so right now I'm actively pursuing online work. I had an online job for 5 weeks, and then they were like, oh, you're going to be in Europe for some of the time you're working. Yeah, we can't have you do that. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, so when you say remote work, you just mean remote within the US? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, maybe I'm the weird one, but also maybe specify that in the job listing.
I don't think you're weird for that. Remote is remote. Why the fuck? Internet's not okay, the internet changes when you go overseas. Same ass internet over there. The World Wide Web is the same wherever you go. That's stupid. I've never heard of something like that.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked because IT had even I explained to them yeah, I'm not going to be in the US all the time, so can we set this up? And they're like, oh yeah, this is rare, but yeah, we got it all set up. And then literally the next week, HR was like, yeah, we want to meet with you about your IT developments and conversations. And I was like, I don't think this is going to go well.
No, if HR ever reaches out, it usually doesn't go well.
Yeah, and then sure enough, they handled it like I said, it wasn't ideal, but they literally met with me right away. Like it was a Thursday morning, and they're like, "Yeah, so this is the situation. Take 24 hours to decide. We'll pay you for today." And then I went back like that Friday, like the next day, and I told them I was like, "I'm sorry, but like I just can't do this."
Not
And they're
selling
like,
my
"All
life.
right, well we'll pay you for today too." And I was like, "Man, I wonder how long I could have strung that one
Help this
along." Like,
out,
oh,
yeah.
I'm sick on Friday. Let's meet
I
on
need I
Monday.
need another 48 hours to think this one over. It's just this is so much work. I can't. Yeah. No, dude, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I had an HR rep who during the pandemic damn, she was such a bitch. Oh, I wanted just to throw her into the press. Like she was the worst, dude. She was the worst. She hated everyone and everything. I
yeah.
used to smoke these hemp cigarettes, and she like wrote me up for smoking weed, and I'm like, bitch, it's not weed. Like, bitch, it's
No
not. Yeah.
kidding.
And so I had to go take
Wow.
another drug test, pass it obviously, and then show them what it was. And then I printed off like 6 articles about how it's legal and fine, and handed it
Yeah.
out to all the HR reps. And they thought that I was
Yeah.
being cocky because I gave them information. They thought I was cocky about it. Yeah.
Well,
I'm glad I'm not
I
in that
would.
fucking job anymore. If your best friend's dad ever reaches out, they're like, "I got a sick opportunity for you." It's because they can't find anyone else. Don't take the job. Don't take the job. It's not worth
Were,
it.
were you in North Dakota or Wisconsin, or
That
where
was
were you with
Minnesota
that
for
job?
that one. That was Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was in
Okay.
Plymouth. Yeah, that was at the factory I worked at was fine. I worked at this factory called Morris Packaging, and they were cool. It was
Oh, that's
it
right.
was fucking
Okay.
Siegwerk. It's this ink company, Siegwerk, man. Fuck
Mhm.
them. They need to just get
Mhm.
fucking holocausted or something, man. Fuck that. That might be. I might get banned for that one. That
As
might.
as I'm sitting in Poland right now.
Are you in Poland?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God! See, that's cool, dude. Well, how's Poland?
It's good. I got here. Geez, what is today? Monday. I got here Saturday afternoon. So
Fuck
I
yeah,
just
dude.
literally, like, legitimately slept all day today because, like, I'm finally getting my clock readjusted, and it's now like, what is it, like 7:30 at night here. So when you were like, "Yeah, you want to set this up for this time?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of perfect because it'll give me something to do and not like take a nap or something."
Yeah.
So
Damn, dude. I didn't even know you'd be in Poland. That worked out extra cool. I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and that was the thing too. Was like that's why when I had that remote job, like it was so important because I was here earlier this summer, and then I came back to the States for my sister's wedding reception, just hang out with family and stuff. And I was so jacked that like I locked down a remote job, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's great. I'll be able to come back here and like be making like U.S. dollars. And then literally 2 weeks before I leave, not even, it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks before I leave, they're like, "Yeah, we can't have you do that." I'm like, sweet, back to being
Excellent.
jobless. So I'm
Thank
like,
you.
oh
Thank you.
man.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow, I appreciate that. That
Yeah.
is really ridiculous. That doesn't even make any fucking sense. Why do they
Well,
care?
and here's the thing. Here's the thing is, like, I've applied. So I started applying for jobs at the beginning of the summer. And like, I'm not going to say I'm overly qualified in tons of stuff, but like, I feel like if you were a car salesman and a high school teacher, you have to have some level of like competency
Yeah,
or like common
interpersonal
sense.
communication is obviously key.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, okay, like finding an online job, like it might be tough, but Jake, I've applied for like, and I'm not even exaggerating. I'm probably on the low end. I've applied for at least 125 jobs,
Yeah, dude.
and that's resulted in like 5 interviews.
Hmm.
And up until 2 months ago, it was one place that was like, yeah, we'll take you on. And I'm like, geez, but like what I've noticed is a lot of these online remote businesses, if they will put it specifically in their posting, they'll say, we don't care where in the world you work.
Right.
They'll literally say that. As long
Right.
as you have internet, you're good. And so that's why like I'm like, how is that not the same for all other companies?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know, I don't know.
that's how it is. My girlfriend's company's that way. She could live in fucking Guam for all they care. As long as she gets her work done, they
Yeah.
don't give a shit. They
Yeah,
genuinely
yeah,
don't
man.
care. I'm pretty sure they do have employees who are in Europe. American
Yeah.
citizens who live in Europe, and they just whatever. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because why
Dude,
would you?
side note, so happy for you. You like I see the pictures you guys
Oh,
post on like
thanks, dude.
Instagram and stuff, and man, you look so happy. And this
Yeah.
girl, like you guys just like I
She's
don't
the
know her
shit,
at all, but
dude.
you guys you guys
She's
look
the
awesome
shit,
together.
man. Yeah, dude, she fixed me up. Let me tell you, she's awesome. Yeah, dude, I was pretty sad boy, and then yeah, it's pretty weird. Like, yeah, it's wild because you can go from wanting to burn the world down and like I'm gonna fucking hack this computer and fucking shut down this network, and I was so angry at everything, and then like she comes along,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm good. I can put all this away.
Yeah.
I'm done. Everything's fine. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
comedy got better. Yeah, she's good for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, that's awesome.
Yep, only
You guys are
took
just in New York
27
too, yeah?
years. Yeah, dude, just got back from Manhattan. That was pretty sweet.
How was that?
Dude, it was cool. I went for my best friend's wedding. He got married like up near Albany, but we stayed in Jersey
Okay.
City so we could hang out in Manhattan and shit. And
Nice.
yeah, that's a long drama-filled story about that wedding, but we'll leave that.
Yeah,
for
I
now.
saw. Yeah. I saw stuff that you were posting, and I was like, "This was not just like a simple, easy there and back wedding. Like,
Oh
stuff
God,
went down."
no! Shit went down. Cause it always fucking does. Cause God forbid I just have a normal life. Like I can't just go
Yeah.
do something without some shit hitting the fan. Like, can I just enjoy New York for like 5 goddamn minutes without something happening? But hey,
No, impossible.
That's my life, man. It's fun.
Yeah, dude.
So what brings you to Poland?
My girlfriend.
Really?
Honestly, yeah.
She's Polish?
Yeah. Yep. She kind of lives right around the Warsaw area, so
Oh,
it's
damn.
nice when it comes to like flying. Like, it's the biggest airport
Yep,
here, and it's
literally.
the easiest way to get flights.
Yeah.
So.
Every fucking international airline goes there. Like all of them.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
Frankfurt. Like you can get anywhere from Warsaw and Frankfurt, literally.
Yeah, Frankfurt's that's almost like the Denver
Yeah.
or Atlanta
It's like
of
the
the
JFK
U.S.
or
Like,
Atlanta, yeah.
yeah, like every flight comes
Dude,
in
I'm
and out
pretty
of
sure
there.
Atlanta's even bigger than JFK. Atlanta is used so like everyone's connecting flights in Atlanta. I swear to God.
Yeah, they up until last year or 2 years ago, it was the busiest airport in the world for like the last 10 years in
Yeah.
the world,
Yeah, I
which
don't doubt it.
blows my mind because I'm like, how do these like Chinese airports not take that?
Yeah,
but
dude.
here we have Atlanta, Georgia. It's not even the top 5 biggest cities, but the airport, I think it's just the connection.
Location is so prime. You can get
Yeah.
that hits every corner of the U.S. and plus international
Mhm.
flights from Atlanta is so much easier than international flights from JFK. That airspace
Yeah.
is so goddamn congested up in JFK. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I suppose you have like the actual aerospace like perspective on it too because of your experience.
I am a pilot. It's weird. It's weird. You know what's really weird actually is being able to fly a plane down the Hudson River and back. And like you could reach your arm out and slap the buildings. Like you're so close to the buildings.
Jeez.
Yeah, I took pictures. I'm
Jeez.
like, look, I'm literally flying eye level, looking at the people at the top of One World Trade Center. I'm like,
That is
like
wild.
when you look out there, like, how am I right here? How is this legal?
That is wild.
Yeah.
So how do you get like permission or clearance to like fly that
just ask
close?
for
Like
it.
how are they? You just ask air traffic
Yeah,
control,
so
and then
like
they
the
just
United
know that you're
States,
not.
the thing that's cool about the United States compared to any other country is we have laws for general aviation. So like anyone has the equal right to the sky as an airliner. So like if an airliner wants the sky and you want the sky, you both have the equal access to the sky. It's not because they're bigger, they get it. None of that shit. Like for instance, one time, just because I wanted JFK on my flight log, like I made
Yeah.
like I don't know 10 jetliners wait for me to land my little to land on. I mean these airplanes are burning just hundreds of thousands of dollars, so I can have an airport in my logbook. You know, like
Oh my
that's
gosh.
yeah, because that's America. We do what we want here, and
Yeah, that's
so
wild.
yeah, if an airliner can go there and they're allowed to, I can go there. So.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I guess
Just
probably
ask.
the 300 people, the 300 people on board that you made miss their connecting flight just loved you, but
Yeah,
whatever.
fuck them. You know, I've had to miss my flight before. You can miss yours. You're welcome. If I wasn't gonna let you miss your flight, then Southwest would have canceled it anyway. It doesn't matter. Your flight would have gotten canceled anyway, dude.
Because of weather, quote weather.
Whether you know why it is? Because of all the
Yes.
pilots on strike. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what it is.
So
and
dude,
every
I hear people actually think it's the weather. I'm like, look up! It's blue. The sky is perfect.
That's
ain't
what I
weather.
think, man. I don't get. I saw a tweet literally like an hour or two ago, and it was like, what did it say? Basically, like having the media cover this pilot shortage as weather-related problems sounds very Soviet of us to do.
It sounds very Soviet of us to do. We have, dude. America became the Soviet Union a long time ago. When the Soviets got much better at spying, and they went to space first, and they put the first person and the first woman in space. I mean, you have to give it to them. The Soviet Union really did have some good shit going for them. Like, you have to, and I love capitalism. Don't get me wrong. I love our system more, but to pretend that the Soviet Union had nothing good that's stupid. I don't agree with the Soviet Union. Don't like them. Don't like what they did. Don't like the 600 million people dying from famine and shit. I get it. But at the same time, pretending that they didn't get to space first, that they didn't accomplish a lot.
And that's the interesting thing, especially being here in Poland, getting to interact with people that were living in communist era, seeing it firsthand. Those achievements that you were talking about, 100%. As a country as a whole, they did get things done, but then you look at the day-to-day life, and it's
what it took
oh
to get it done.
My lord,
not worth it.
Yeah.
The thing is with the Soviet Union too is it was multiple countries. It was like a European Union type situation. So and Russia extorted the fuck out of their Eastern Front. Oh my god.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm going to be super biased here because of my connection with Poland, but it's fascinating to me to see the relationship that this country had with Russia during the Soviet Union, because look at World War II, right? The Nazis invade and they just start slaughtering people, and the Soviets are on the east side literally just watching it happen,
chilling.
waiting. Yeah, just letting it happen.
Yep.
And then the end of the war comes in, and then they come in and, quote, liberate, all these people, and
occupy.
What is it? Yeah, and then 10 years later they say, Stalin wants to give you guys this nice building here in Warsaw as a gift, from the USSR.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see how that relationship played out, where it was interesting to see how different countries basically were absorbed by the Soviet Union, and then what they did to exert their power.
Yeah.
Super crazy stuff.
So when you're in that culture, have you been to the camp? I'm sure you've been to the camps, Auschwitz and Dachau and shit like that.
Yeah. So I haven't been to Dachau, but I was at Auschwitz and Birkenau. Yeah, that was a couple years ago because this is, I don't know, 4th or 5th time being here.
Oh,
so
really?
I've spent, I would say collectively, I've honestly probably spent almost close to a full year. If I add up all my trips here,
that's so dope.
I've been here a while.
So what is your what's the cultural assimilation like in Poland compared to the U.S.? Is it more family oriented, or what's it like over there?
Well, in terms of I would say there's two different things. So if you're looking at cultural assimilation, there's no assimilation.
Okay.
No, that's not true. That's the opposite of what I'm looking for. It's, for the most part, it's a Polish way of life, or
get fucked,
or good luck,
Okay,
and it sounds cold, but it's because you look at the population, and it's a majority. When I say majority, I'm saying over 90% of the people here are Polish.
Yeah.
And you look at over 90% identify I think it's close to 98%, but over 90% identify with the Catholic religion. So it's an overwhelming number of people that are in the majority. So in terms of assimilation, it's you either do it, or it's not that you're not going to be accepted, but it does make it a little bit more of a challenge, I guess. But then to your other part of the question, with family and stuff, I would say family ties here are crazy strong, to the point where the concept of your grandparents getting old and moving into a home, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You're gonna a lot of homes that are built here are multi-generational homes. Like my girlfriend's family, for instance, her parents live. It's a single family home, but it's split into 2 levels.
Okay.
And so her parents live upstairs, and her grandparents live downstairs. And then her older brother lives with his girlfriend, and it's like the same story. Like they live in one section of the house, and then her family lives in the other section of the house. So it's like
I get
super
you.
super strong family ties for sure.
Well, Poland itself, I mean, they've had quite the fucking history. I mean, they've got to have family, like that's probably all they've got
Yeah,
left. Jesus, they were a country, then they weren't, then they were again, and then they weren't for a little bit. They were kind of a satellite, and now their own thing again. So, like, Poland's been through some shit. They've seen
yeah,
some
yeah.
shit.
It's crazy because like that's one of the things like history classes like that we grow up with. Like we focus on like the only time you're going to mention Poland, right, is in World War II, essentially.
Otherwise, you just
And
hear it. Yeah.
and usually it's, oh yeah, that's basically the country that got screwed over at the start of the war, and then you really don't hear much about it aside from that. But one like you can tell that, and depending on generations it's different, but you can tell that there is this sense of like, we're not going to really trust outsiders, because we've never been given a reason to
Yeah.
really do that, and then those, like, yeah, like you said, those strong family ties, it's you've got to count on the ones you can count on,
Right.
right? And there's kind of this funny joke that my girlfriend and I always tell her, because she comes to the U.S. and she's like, geez, how can you have these front yards without fences, right? And I'm like, you mean backyards? And she's like, no. And yeah, here in Poland, it's, you drive down a residential street and it looks very
Boxed in.
closed off, and yeah, because everybody has a front yard fenced in. And so we make the joke, it's like, well, you're not going to trust people because they're just going to try to come stomping through your
Right.
yard and stuff. So you may as well have it closed off.
Last time they came through Poland, they didn't really fucking treat them too nicely.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the deal? Poland's been in the news lately about their president.
Yeah.
What's been going on with that? Because I'm very not familiar.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't know recently with their president what's been going on, but literally like since I've been here, and since we, like, I would say since Thursday, so what is it? It's Monday right now, since like last Thursday, and I guess I don't know when you'll get this show posted, but whatever, it's the 11th today.
Yeah, it'll be up on. It'll be up soon. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so I've learned a lot about how the European Union, I guess, the relationship with the member countries, right? And so basically what it is if you agree to be in the European Union, what the EU says trumps your country's laws, right?
Okay.
So if the EU says we're going to ban diesel cars on Mondays, and there's something in somebody's constitution that says otherwise, well, EU basically their law sets precedent over it. And so what just recently came out was one of the high courts in, I don't know if it's the equivalent to their Supreme Court, but it's got to be pretty
The EU
pretty
High
close,
Court, right? Yeah.
pretty close to that. A Polish court basically ruled that there are aspects of EU laws that do not basically match up with the Polish constitution. And so now people are just losing their minds because they're thinking that Poland's going to pull out of the EU because this court ruled that, and they're thinking that, what other, because there's other countries within the EU that will always support Poland, and it's just kind of like this alliance within the EU that they pulled together. So those countries have come out and said, "Oh yeah, like Poland's right. Like this does go against their constitution." But like just yesterday, there was a protest or a gathering in Warsaw, and I saw the numbers, and they said like estimates were like 100,000 people.
That's what I'm looking at right now. Is that news? Yeah.
Yeah, for just people to go basically show their support for not wanting to leave the EU. And like I said, I think people are getting way too far ahead of themselves, because you look at like the economic consequences of what would come out of leaving the EU, and it's going to be hard on the UK as it is, and Poland definitely isn't in the same realm as the UK is in terms of economic force. But yeah, I think people are just, I think they're like, there's a tendency to overreact to things, and that's, I think, what's going on right
That's
now.
what it seems to be, because it's Poland's engulfed in Polexit fears after unprecedented challenges by the prime minister and one. Okay, yeah, like I get it, and this is from NPR, but yeah, I mean, Jesus, the thing with the EU is like it almost seems like they're in a situation where young United States was, where the federal government tried to like have power over the states, but the states were like, no, thank you, and then like we had to recreate the federal government to have authority over them. But the EU is a little different because they don't. It's not like the EU is a federal anything. It's just a union, you know. So like,
Well,
it's
and
weird
that's the
how
thing.
it's weird how I don't know how this is gonna work out. Like I don't know how their union works. I guess.
Well, and that's the thing. That's what I've been taught since I've been here is basically how that authority works. Because I just thought it was just a loose affiliation. Like when I was teaching, I would tell my students, I said, the EU, just think of it as like a club that the European countries join, so that they can transport and trade easier. But it actually is a lot more severe than that because I didn't know that when the EU sets I don't know if a law is the right term to use, but when the EU decides on something for the member countries to follow, that takes precedent over even a national constitution, which I think, holy cow, I mean, talk about giving up a lot to be a part of that.
That's everything.
You're
giving
and
up
so
your
that's
country to be a part of the union, you know? I mean, tell me how that's not the USSR, but okay. It's like a Western USSR. It really is.
It's a super interesting. Well, and you look at also now with like Britain being out, and again, this is coming from an outsider's perspective because we have the concept of the federal government in the states, and that's
we
about
clearly
it. So
don't know what we're talking about. I don't. At least I don't know what I'm talking about, and people who listen know that I don't. So it's cool.
Well, see, and that's the thing.
I
That's
do
the
my
thing
best.
is like
I look up NPR and shit. I do my best.
Yeah, well, and that's my thing is like I will openly say like I it probably sounds like I know a lot more than what I'm talking about, but I'm just coming from the conversations that I have here and what I read on the news, and it's interesting because to me personally it seems like with the UK pulling out of the EU, it looks like honestly it's Germany and France that really call the shots for the EU, and then you have this like protagonist in Poland that says they're not going to outright defy, but they will call it on. They'll call a spade, right? They'll say, well, this goes against our constitution, and then the EU comes back and says, yeah, but you joined the EU, so you knew that going in that we can trump, a constitutional a right or law or whatever you want to call it. And then you see these other countries that's don't have the political voice or the economic force that Poland has, and they'll chime in and they'll say, yeah, we're with Poland.
To be like,
and so I think I was just talking about it yesterday. I think it's great that this type of dialogue exists because then you get further and further away from that group think mentality where it is just going to be one body, whether it be France or Germany or a combination, just calling the shots. You've got to have that opposing side there to at least have people have this discussion.
Exactly, dude. Otherwise, the EU is really Germany. At this point, like I'd say, you could say France and Germany, but France is literally the vice president here. Like they're basically just like here for show. They're not. They're like, yeah, we support America, but like they're not really They're just kind of a body. They're not there. They're there for the president gets shot. Like that's pretty much.
Well, and they're too busy. They're too busy protesting over.
Yeah, France has too many firefighters lighting themselves on fire and tackling police officers right now. So it's
and farmers driving into the streets just dumping manure because of ag prices and stuff. Yeah. But it is an interesting dynamic that I've seen. I'm like, geez, Germany. Talk about not making any.
I get what you mean. Talk about the turnaround.
Yeah, but but it is interesting. It is interesting how they can exert influence in a completely different way.
What's the deal? I got to be honest with you. What is the deal with Angela Merkel still being in charge of Germany? I don't mean to be that guy, but why are you still in charge, bitch? Like, step down. Let someone take the reins here, man. This is ridiculous.
See, and that's actually really ironic that you mentioned that because. There was just an election with in Germany for her replacement. I don't know exactly I don't know anything about it. All I know, and the only reason I know anything about this is because I teach online English to somebody that works in a pretty big company in Poland here, but they said that they have tons of experience with Germany and German companies and stuff, and they were telling me how Germany, it's going to be in a really weird position now with her on her way out, and I don't even know who's coming in. But
This
yeah,
is
that's she's been there a while though. Like I don't
2000,
even know, geez, how long it's been, but we're talking like
2005.
close to 20 years or
Since
something. I think.
2005.
Wow. Yeah.
Sorry about my
So
coffee.
what is it? Yeah, no worries. So what's that, like 16 years or something?
Yep.
Yeah.
She
Wow.
she's been in the news a lot because, well, Ukraine in the first place, Germany is heavily involved with Ukrainian activities just because of Russia's influence in the eastern part of the western part of the country, but or eastern part, isn't it? Or the eastern part of the Ukraine is where
Yeah,
the
they just casually took part of Ukraine and said this is ours now.
dude.
So
I mean, Russia is a whole concept on itself, but like, like the most blatant land grab in history. They just go and take Croatia, just mine. Thank you, or not Croatia.
Crimea.
Crimea. My bad.
Yeah.
Um, just take Crimea, and then especially like even China's starting to get cocky. Like they flew 56 airplanes,
I
56
saw that.
over Taiwan. Okay, I don't know if people understand the severity of this, but if Taiwan goes to war, you think you have a shortage now. They're the only people making computer chips, bitch. They'll be gone. They'll be gone. So that'll happen. America is going to go to its knees on that because we don't make any superconductors at all in the United States. Tesla and Apple are the only people who make their own superconductors. Everyone else is like, "Hey China, hey Taiwan, can we get a hand here?" And you know if they
Apple makes it. Apple makes it in country.
Apple, no, not in country. They don't. They
Okay.
make it in, I think Vietnam or some bullshit like that. Yeah.
Well,
It's
smarter for them not to do it in
they're-
China though.
Apple's been taking away from China. A lot of their shit, like they still make AirTags in China. They still assemble like iPhones in China. But as they're making their new things, they're starting to take it away from Chinese. Like I think the iPad that they make isn't made in China. I might be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that one's made in a different country too. So like yeah. I think Foxconn is starting to make a bunch of shit in Wisconsin too now, so like that'll be cool.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing, that you talk about globalization and wanting to have all these relationships with countries around the world, but then in times like this where, you've got countries that literally go against your own country's moral set of beliefs, do you want to risk having your business over there and then something, happens? Because yeah, something will happen. Something's going to happen in Taiwan. And it's going to...
It's not even because here's what China thinks it's gonna go down like Hong Kong did, where like Hong Kong during the pandemic. I feel horrible for Hong Kong because like what happened was during the pandemic the Chinese pulled that national security law bullshit and just took over, and the United States did nothing. Even though we passed the Hong Kong rights bill, did nothing to help them, and it's
Well, and that was the thing, that's where a lot of theories, I won't even say conspiracy theories, I'll just say that's where a lot of theories came out of the timing for when this virus all happened was because, isn't it a little odd that, yeah, the Hong Kong was getting, I mean, that was to the point where it was either the U.S. is going to actually have to act on it or we're just going to have to turn our backs.
Yeah.
Turn our backs, at hashtag Afghanistan or something,
Seriously.
like, and so yeah, when the timing of that happened, yeah, you saw those protests. It made China look bad.
Yeah.
And then when the pandemic hit and the quarantines happened, it was just kind of the convenient ending to all of that,
Well,
right? Because now it's stay inside for your safety, not stay inside because we can't have ourselves look bad on the international scale.
Dude, I'm going to lose followers for this one, but I still cannot believe that people listen to the fucking government telling them to stay inside their house. Fuck you. Fuck you. I don't understand what the fuck. How am I the bad guy for saying that? I don't understand. Dude, is this not goddamn America? If I want to go outside and go to the fucking grocery store, I'm going without your permission. I don't need to be an essential employee. And first and second, the essential employee thing, way to ostracize like 3/4 of the working population by not being essential. Like you're not essential till you have a shortage on your fucking coffee. And then, the unskilled workers, right? Unskilled. Plus everyone who's calling them unskilled, I'd like you to go roll 200 things of forks, knives, and spoons in a napkin. Go roll 200 of them in a half hour like they do. Go. Good luck. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Unskilled
Yeah.
though, you know, like it's bullshit. Unskilled is a term people use to make poverty wages seem okay, and they're not.
Well, and that's an interesting thing, that you bring up because I've got one of my best friends lives in Melbourne, Australia, and knowing you, there's no way you don't know what's going on
I
in
know what's going on
Australia.
in Australia.
And he just tells me, he says that he's lost he can't even count how many friends that he's lost because he's in the same boat. He has the same perspective. He says, it's at what point have we lost our ability to make a decision for our own self,
Yeah.
whether or not we want to walk in somewhere
Your
or camp.
severity is, yeah. You're not sovereign
And he
anymore.
said it's just next level. He says I don't understand how our country, talking about Australia, he's like, I don't understand how our country can do this and people in Canada and America aren't even remotely thinking that this couldn't happen to them because, and I told him, I said, honestly, I would even argue that outside of the U.S., Australia is more American than Canada is when you look at their beliefs and their way of life and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, he just said he has no control over his life and basically everything he does is criminalized because
Pretty much, dude.
he's trying.
My career was a crime. Stand-up comedy was against the law. I would have gone to jail if I would have gone on stage and told a fucking joke, which is ridiculous. Like, my job was illegal for like a year and a half. I didn't, and I have to pay back like 10 grand to the government of paycheck protection loans that I got. I got to pay it all. Yeah, so it's bullshit. This country, honestly, and it sucks because I grew up from a very young age in like military uniform, cadet, all the I was in ROTC, I did OCS, and it's disappointing because the America I thought I was growing up to fight for is not the real America, man. That is not what we fucking do here. It's not.
And that's the thing, I've thought about this too, and it's does our perspective change because the circumstances have changed, or does the perspective change because we're older and we can see the bigger picture now? I don't know. That's what I would like to know because, yeah, I talked about it, when I was here in Europe past summer, and I said, we grow up in America basically being told, because I get told all the time, it's amazing, like when we're over in the States, geez, there's just American flags everywhere. If it's not in front of your yard flying on a flag, it's on a vehicle or something. And
Target.
And I say, we grow up with these ideals kind of instilled in us that we are the greatest country and we are X, Y, and Z, and this is why we're the best. But then and again, I don't know if it's because circumstances have changed or because you get older and you learn more, but it's like, geez, the fact of the matter is, that's not really the truth because look at what we do. We preach, and don't get me wrong. Like I think you and I can have an understanding for each other where, yes, there's no question we love our country and we,
Of course we love our country. Here's the deal: when you love your kid and he shits on the carpet, do you correct the shit on the carpet, or you go, "Well, I love my kid. He's gonna shit on the carpet. I guess he keeps shitting." That's not how that fucking goes. You correct bad behavior when you see it, especially if it's our own behavior. Which America is us, so we are allowed to criticize the shit that we do with our tax dollars. So if you don't agree with that, go fuck yourself. I don't care anyway. You can turn it off. I don't give a fuck. Stop listening to my shit. If you don't agree with this, stop listening to my shit.
Well, no, and here's the thing.
I'm kidding.
Here's the thing, Jake. Here's what I would argue. I would argue if you're listening to this right now and you don't agree with what we're saying, keep listening.
No, for sure. It was a joke.
Because I got you. But that's the thing. That's what is plaguing our society now. Is if you don't agree with somebody, you stop listening and you just you just write them off. Right. You say, well, they're wrong. There's no place for this, and that's, I think, one of the worst things that's going on in society today is people are not willing to just listen to the other side. You don't have to agree with them. I don't know if you follow like Andrew Yang. He was a former Democratic. Follow Andrew Yang. So have you seen what he's been up to recently?
Making a new party.
Yeah, and that was the first. He was on Fox, and then he went on CNN, and he gets on CNN, and they say, well, why would you ever go on so-and-so show on Fox? I can't believe you would do that. And he says, that's the problem right there. You need to reach out to every side because this is what's wrong. You focus on the problems instead of just getting your opinion out there for people to hear.
Yeah.
And,
No, the people listen to respond, not to comprehend what people are telling. I mean,
Yeah.
after every conversation, I can guarantee you, because I did this to someone the other day at the comedy club because they were just after the show they didn't like a joke I said, and of course I have to say something, and it's fuck. Um, yeah, I'm not even gonna get into it. This lady pissed me off. It's just like, lady, I don't care, and if it makes you feel any
Yeah.
better, I was kidding. Ha ha ha. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm a joke guy. That's I write these.
Yeah.
I don't believe the majority of the shit that I say up here. It's just to
Yeah.
make you laugh.
Well, and that's the thing is, that's where I think there's I mean, number one thing I like to do when I'm like on a long road trip or something is listen to comedy radio on like Sirius XM or
Yeah,
something.
dude.
I'm always listening to the comedy stuff.
My main bitch,
And
Fortune. I love her, dude.
and,
I love Fortune.
and what I appreciate about it is it's like in society today, there's so many people that are getting offended by everything, right? And comedy is that one thing where really it should be everything's off limits,
It
right?
is.
Because it's comedy, it's joking. You can make the jokes about presidents on both sides
Yeah.
of the aisle, and you can make these, that's what it
There's
is.
a
And that's
misconception too that jokes have to be not real. It can be fun. It can be a real topic. Like when Trump's hair like flipped off his head. Like people got real pissed at me for laughing at him for that. But it's like, dude, it's funny. It's
yeah.
funny. I don't care if you voted for him or not. No one fucking
Yep.
cares. Shut up. Just laugh at his
Yep.
toupee flying off his head because it's funny. When Biden
Yeah.
tripped up the stairs and then got up and then tripped again, kind of funny. Laugh at him then too.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
I don't goddamn fuck your parties, guys. I don't care about your groups.
Yeah. And if you can't, I don't know. I just think
Parties
if
are
you can't,
blinding. They're blinding, dude. People really put on the blinders. They're like the horses with those things that can't see off the sides. Like straight
yeah,
ahead, no
yeah,
other ideas. It's just what they tell me to go this way, so I'm gonna go that way. It's just kind of
yep,
weird.
yep,
Thinking for yourself is becoming a very like ostracized idea. Like even people like, well, I like to think for myself a little. It's like, well, what you and what authority? Who told you that? Are you a genius? Like, no,
yeah.
I just like to think that I can make my own decisions. Thank you.
Well, and the thing is, yeah, everybody has the right to make decisions for themselves. And when we start arguing about, and I'm the V word, when we start arguing about if you're going to get it or not, or where you're allowed to
The
go
V.
with
Oh,
it,
vaccines. I gotcha.
yeah, it's that thing where you just you're just rolling the snowball to grow it bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's the argument was, you look at all of it developing. The argument was, well, you either get it or you don't. You don't get to do anything. And then it's, well, you can get it, or you could have the antibodies, or you could make the choice not to. And then it's turned into, no.
We'll get
it's
it.
either you're going to get it, or you've already had the virus and you've got the antibodies. And the reason that you're not getting the vaccine is because you have antibodies. Why isn't it an option anymore to choose not to get it just because it doesn't even have to be a religious reason?
You just don't
because
want it.
of exactly.
No, that's the biggest
it's-
thing. I don't get me wrong. I got the vaccine personally, but I
Okay.
wanted it when I got it. It wasn't. No
Mhm.
one forced me to get it. I got it because I wanted to get it. That's me personally. Now,
Yeah.
I have friends that don't want to get it. That's none of my business. Number
Mhm.
one, it's
Mhm.
none of my business. Number two, the fact that they can't come to a movie with me because they didn't want to get shot in the arm is stupid, especially because the friends that I'm talking about have already had COVID itself, the actual virus. They've
Mhm.
recovered from it, and they still take antibody tests and show antibodies in their blood. And every study in the world, from the fucking FDA to the WHO to the CDC, are all showing that if you have the virus, it is more effective antibodies than if you get the mRNA vaccine. That's not me. That is your fucking CDC themselves telling you that. So I don't understand. I don't understand why, if you have it and you have the antibodies, why can't I bring a card that says I got antibodied out here? Here they are. Why can't I have that?
Mhm.
Why do I have to get your jelly in my arm?
But also, it brings up an interesting. I don't want to say argument, but a side note to consider is because I have no experience with this, but if there's somebody that's HIV positive and they get a paper cut and they can bleed on a movie theater counter buying their concessions, do they need to have a card there to let everyone know that they have,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
or
Exactly.
if I don't have my flu shot,
Yep.
do I have to wear a mask? I mean, it's just super interesting how we're picking and choosing the information that we want to look at to push an agenda.
Oh,
Because
for
right
sure.
now, politicians do not want anybody thinking that natural immunity is better than the vaccine by
Which
any
is
means.
crazy because they exempted themselves from the federal mandate.
Isn't it
Every
interesting?
federal
Yep.
employee is required to get vaccinated except for the executive, legislative, and judicial branches of the federal government.
Yeah, very interesting how.
State governments are not exempt.
Yep.
Federal
Yep.
only. Just
Yep.
us. We made the rules, so we don't have to take it. Fuck
Hmm.
you.
Well,
There should be
and
an
that's the thing.
amendment. Like, if you pass a law, you are not exempt or something. Because, like, we
That's
had to
that's
pass an
the thing
amendment.
too.
We had to pass an amendment to stop them from giving themselves so many goddamn raises every year because they couldn't
Yeah.
help themselves. They still do it,
Yeah.
just not as often.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the number one problem with Congress is why do we have term limits on presidency but not Congress?
For real.
To me, that makes absolutely no sense. I mean, you look at both sides of the aisle, and you see some of the well-known characters. I'll just leave it at that. You see some of them, and I'm saying, how can you look at them and they don't even know they don't know how Facebook and Instagram operate.
Dude,
They don't
I
know
know. And they're
the
hauling in the CEOs and questioning them. It's like,
and the
remember
CEOs sit there and they're trying to be polite about it, but when they say, what's this new?
how does Facebook make money? No one's paying for this service. How do they make money? And Mark
Yes,
Zuckerberg's
yes,
like, we run ads. Like,
yeah,
what
yep,
do you mean? How do we make money? Like, that is
yeah,
such
yeah,
that you basically just asked him, how does a car run? Well, we put gas in it. You know, like,
yeah,
you asked him a really stupid question. So
yeah,
forgive him
yeah,
if he says something stupid back because that's a really, if you don't know what you're talking about, shut the fuck up and leave. Because I'm
yeah,
gonna show up. I'm
yeah.
gonna first picture of Chuck Schumer in Congress. I'll show you this picture real quick. God, what a good-looking young man. Looks young in his suit now today. Oh, you probably can't even see. Oh well.
No, I can't see this.
Oh
That's all
well.
right.
You can Google it. Google it first.
Well,
If you see their first congressional pictures from like 1963, like bitch,
yeah,
we were still in the Cold War. The Soviet
yeah,
Union was like 30 years from collapsing yet. Like, oh my
yeah,
god.
yeah,
Why
yeah.
are you
That's the
still
thing.
around? If you were
I saw
around
this.
to hear about, if FDR's was still alive when you were put in Congress, you're done. You're done, dude.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I would really really like somebody to give me a rational explanation as to why not having term limits on Congress people is a good thing, because I don't understand it, because it's and sadly what the world is now, what our world is now, is the president should never have had this much influence. People forget that Congress really kind of has all the power, and the judicial branch is the one that checks that, and the
Yeah.
executive branch is really there to be the show pony and to execute what Congress does. But now it's turned into such a popularity contest that we're going to put our pals in Congress for 20, 30, 40 years. And then by the time they're going to roll out of there, then we're going to throw them into the presidency or some executive department that they have no business being in. And then we say, all right, now we'll let you guys ride off into the sunset.
Right.
It's like, make it make sense.
Let me show you this. Bring up this video from here. I'll screen share it. I'll be able to screen share it here. Sorry everyone who's watching. I'm not very good at doing everything at one time. It's kind of hard to. Okay, screen share. There it is. And we want to share this. Share. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes. What do we got here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senators, for providing me an opportunity to address this important issue. I want you to imagine for a moment that you are an employer.
Yeah.
And you've had some problems with your employees. When you hired these employees, they promised they would do exactly what you asked of them. But once they got the job, they became a nightmare. They stopped listening to you and started using the job to line their own pockets. They took the company credit card and racked up more debt than you could afford to pay back. They became so obsessed with keeping their jobs that they forgot to do their jobs. And after all that failure, all that disappointment, and all that incompetence, your employees came to you and said, "We deserve a raise." If you're a reasonable person, that should make your blood boil. And yet, that is exactly what it feels like to be an American taxpayer. The first three words in our Constitution are "we the people." It's written larger than anything else because the framers of that document, the architects of our republic, wanted to remind you at all times who's in charge. We the people. We are your employers, and you have an obligation to listen to us. So I come to you with a message from the American people. We demand term limits for members of Congress. In fact, according to the most recent national polls on the issue, 82% of Americans want term limits. That includes support from 89% of Republicans, 76% of Democrats, and 83% of independent voters. This is not a left or right issue. This is an American issue. In fact, term limits could be the only issue with support from both President Trump and former President Obama. Now, there was a time about 25 years ago when Congress was debating this. Nearly every opponent of term limits up here had the same rebuttal. Experience, experience, experience. We need experience to do this job right. If only you leave your Congress member in office for decades on end, he or she will become such a policy expert that all our problems will be solved. In hindsight, that was one of the worst predictions ever. This system is broken. Congress has given us $22 trillion in debt, the longest war in American history, a broken healthcare system, a broken immigration system, a tax code written by lobbyists, an explosion of money in politics. Worst of all, too few here have the courage to address these problems because the only focus is on getting reelected. That's why it comes as no surprise that Congress has a 14% approval rating, and 60% of Americans say that they would fire every single member of Congress if they could. Congress is less popular than traffic jams, root canals, and hemorrhoids. You're beating head lice, but the lice have asked for a recount. Unfortunately, elections alone cannot fix this problem. Not because voters like you guys so much, but due to the nearly unbreakable power of incumbency. At the same time members of Congress publicly claim elections are free and fair, they secretly deploy every trick in the book to keep power. Incumbents get $9 in special interest money for every dollar that goes to a challenger. And if incumbents are having difficulty raising money, not to worry, they're allowed to send campaign-style mailers at taxpayer expense. That's to say nothing of all the free media and name recognition politicians naturally get just for being in office. The incumbent advantage creates a barrier to entry for everyday Americans without the connections to fund a campaign. It is the case for term limits. Elections may in theory be capable of dethroning incumbents, but that isn't how it works in the real world. Congressional incumbents have a 98% re-election rate. That probably explains why Congress looks more like a country club than a melting pot. It's predominantly made up of lawyers and politicians, and is disproportionately old, white, rich, and male. Term limits would give us a legislature that better reflects the diversity of our society. The message long-term incumbents send to young people like me seems to be, we want you just close enough to the political process to help us win, but don't get too close and take our jobs. The American people have lost confidence in this Congress, and for good reason. We routinely see abuses of power. 18 months ago, it was revealed that members of Congress were secretly using taxpayer money to settle lawsuits, some for sexual harassment. You still haven't disclosed how our money was spent and on whose behalf. So term limits is a check on arrogance, it's a check on incumbency, and it's a check on power. It's a way to restore political courage while bringing fresh faces and ideas to Washington. As Ben Franklin said, for the rulers to return among the people was not to degrade them, but to promote them. As Kanye West said, no one man should have all that power. Here's the dilemma we face. Over 80% of Americans want term limits to happen. Donald Trump and Barack Obama want it. It is being blocked purely by the self-interest of Congress. If this were a trial, you all would have to recuse yourselves because there is a colossal conflict of interest. If term limits pass, you won't stay in the limelight forever. You won't be the center of attention, and some people might even stop laughing at your jokes. You'll have to become ordinary citizens. And that is, my friends, the entire point. We're asking you to do what's right and listen to the people you represent. It's time to bring the gravy train into the station, end the reign of career politicians, and give Congress back to the people. Please support Senate Joint Resolution 1 for term limits. Thank you.
When was this from? Do you know?
This was, let me
That was
Because I didn't see any.
that was
I
in
didn't see anyone wearing masks, but I
no,
saw
that
Ted
was
Cruz with a beard.
that
So
was 2017. And
okay.
yeah, what a kitty cat! God damn it! This is the cat that keeps ruining my soundboard every time I fix it.
Just wants to get featured, man.
God, come on. There you go. Anyway, yeah, dude. No, there is no greater argument than term limits, and they're literally under their own self interest are blocking it. Like they're the only ones
Yeah,
who are blocking. Yeah,
yeah.
fuckers.
Well, and you know, he said really early on in that video clip, this isn't an issue of left or right. It's collective. Well, that's just the problem. Is why do we only have two political parties that get any voice? I mean, that's you know, and I haven't gotten too deep into what this Forward Party funded by Yang is all about, but I know that's one of the main platforms is they want to break the two party system. And
Yeah. Well,
again, give me a reason why that's a bad thing to break up a two party system.
so do you
You
know?
know,
Do you know the deal with why there's only two parties? Do you know why this is right now? Like there is a reason for it. It's written in the law. Like the senators and our representatives that we have right now have already written into law that any third party ballot access must jump through a ridiculous amount of
oh
hoops.
yeah,
So like even for like my candidate last presidential election with Joe Jorgensen,
Mm-hmm.
libertarian candidate. I'm completely independent. She just was the only one not talking stupid that year. And
Mm-hmm.
so, she got my vote. At this point, there should be 5 political parties. There should be Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, the Green Party, and now the Forward Party. It should be easy to get someone, you should just be able to vote and they get into office, but that's not how it works because they're a write-in candidate for the majority of their time. They don't get ballot access until the very end when no one knows who the fuck they are on purpose. On purpose.
Yeah, well, and again, it goes back to self-interest of Congress now.
Yeah.
They built to preserve what they have. And that's the unfortunate thing about it, because, it's the whole we the people, right?
Yeah.
We the people, we the people. Well, and this is not a conspiracy theory. This is just calling a spade is as much as we want that to be the case, it's not, because a system has been developed throughout what was the existing constitution to where now it's a two-party government. And yeah, you're right. The hoops that the hoops that you have to jump through as a third party to get there, it's incomprehensible. I mean, there's a reason that the founding fathers said, I think it was George Washington, he said, the last thing we need is political parties. He did not want political parties. Why do you think?
Yep.
The guy that was offered to basically he was offered to be king, and then he was offered basically unlimited term limits as president, and he said, no, it doesn't feel right to do more than two.
No, I don't want to be king. I'd like a term, because the term at the time, president, didn't mean what it means today. It was like being in charge of the golf club or something. Like, president meant like leader of a club. It was very modest. So he chose that on purpose. And then after his second term, they were like, run for a third. And he was like, no. Stepped down after the second. FDR might have had to take a second chance at figuring that one out. But FDR, we are lucky that FDR was the president that got the third term, because we could have been real unfortunate with like a Nixon or something, dude. We could have had a third term Reagan. That would have been horrible.
Well, and that would have been the interesting thing, is to see when that would have broke rank, right? Because we saw with the Trump and
at this point in time, if that would have came up now, it wouldn't. If it came up now, it wouldn't have happened. There wouldn't be term limits for anyone if they would start now.
Well, yeah, especially now you look at the pandemic, and you would have seen a situation very similar to Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. He did a lot of stuff that was very questionable whether he was legally allowed to do that or not.
Well,
and yeah, you throw the pandemic into this today.
Legally allowed is quite the term for what he did too.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
War crimes, man. That fucking guy committed war
crimes. You know what I'm saying, though.
I do. It's just funny.
Is in times of
crisis.
What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, we'll just say crisis. There's very questionable things that are done. and you don't evaluate them until after the fact, and then hindsight's always 2020, and then you get to say, well, that was
I mean,
right or wrong.
shit, we can look at 9/11 for that one, dude. The Patriot Act came through like 4 days after 9/11 happened, and it basically stripped your Fourth Amendment right from your hands. Like your Fourth Amendment was gone, dude. The Patriot Act took all of your privacy. You know.
Well, and that's what we see every time there's some event that we haven't faced before, COVID, 9/11, Civil War, whatever you want to say. Yeah, there's something else that pops up, and then it's like, well, are you going to be the voice to, again, kind of going back to what we talked about at the way beginning, are you going to be the voice that has to be the protagonist to this, or are you going to just go with the motions because you can't really feel how it affects your life right now?
Well, I mean, you remember when the Patriot Act was going through Congress, there was only one person in both the Senate and the House that voted against it. One person.
Really?
So, like, fear is a son of a bitch. You know, like, fear, it's a son of a bitch. And especially Dick Cheney is, that man. He's a big problem because he also was the first person to implement the idea that the president had equal authority to Congress, which it doesn't. Obviously, the Constitution says it doesn't. He read it different. He read it as the executive branch is equal and can do whatever the fuck it wants, basically, under wartime. So, you know, they declared themselves under wartime for 9/11, under, you know, war authority. And so they basically get to do whatever they want. And so when everyone finds out what Snowden leaked, you know, solar winds and all the collections that they've been doing on us, and they're like, oh, how could this have happened? Well, how could it have happened? Everyone you voted for let it happen. That's how. You voted in weak people, you know? We have very weak character in Congress and in our White House and in our judicial branch. Which leads me to ask, what do you think about term limits for, like, the Supreme Court? Because that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
That is very interesting. That's a great question because, you know, if you look at the basis of my argument, right, saying, well, there's term limits for the executive, why shouldn't there be term limits for the legislative? Then it leads to, well, then why shouldn't there be term limits for the judicial? And that one I honestly haven't thought about much at all because I don't want my stance to unravel by saying, you know, you want somebody that is going to have the experience behind the position, right? But I don't know. That's a tough one. I would say
it's experience for me. I think it'd be more consistency. You know, consistency in the high court is important. So I get why there would be, but there is a strong argument for, like, well, you know, the court maybe shouldn't be appointed by the president. You know, I don't. You know, like maybe. Because it's appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate, but, like, it should be confirmed by both houses of Congress, I think, because the Senate is very 50. It takes one more person to fucking make it. I mean, those odds are always going to be in someone's favor, and it's always a left or a right Senate. There's never, you know.
Well,
Bernie
and
Sanders
that's the
is
thing.
the only person to ever be independent in the motherfucker. You know, that's.
Well, and even then, he needs to be a Democrat because of the two-party system. And that's the thing too is. You know, I would say if I had a gun to the head, I would say if I had to choose term limits or not for the Supreme Court, I give him term limits because, again, if anything, it'll just show that, you know, you could say that there would be some inconsistency because you're going to have new people constantly being filtered in and out. But again, you go back to the fact that really, and this is the problem with, you know, appointing a Supreme Court justice is the mass majority of people believe that it's really the president's decision, where it's
not.
Absolutely not. He just recommends somebody, and then, like you said, Senate decides. But again, then you go back to term limits in Congress and how long they've been there and what political party has benefited them, and then you get to see, well, I already know how this vote is going to turn out because this nominee has enough backing from what party that they'll either go through or they won't.
Well, I mean, I don't know but most people are not familiar with how the president selects a judge. You know, they don't have a list and they're like, okay, let's look over what do they got? 1,500 cases. That's good. Because if that was the case, Amy Corbett would not be in the Supreme Court because she's never been a judge before. I don't know if you knew that, but she was never once presided over a case ever in her life, ever, not once, ever. So, like the way that she got picked was an independent group consulted by the AG for Trump's administration came in and gave him a list of people, and he just picked someone off the list. Like, she wasn't
Yeah.
special. She was not
Yeah.
special. She just happened to get picked on the list. Like, it could have easily been some other dude, like, it could have been Muhammad Lee. We don't know. It literally is just a name on a list that he picked, and then they were like, okay, here she goes. And then she went up.
Yeah, no, that's a fascinating thing, and that's where I go back to when I was teaching high school government. Is I would tell my kids, I'd say, raise your hand if you would ever consider being a Supreme Court judge, and I'd get maybe one or two kids, and I'd say, all right, raise your hand if you think you have what it takes to be qualified to be a Supreme Court justice. Nobody raised their hands. I said, well, you guys are all wrong, because the way the Constitution's written, there is not a requirement to be a Supreme Court justice. You just have to hope that
you can be a Supreme Court justice. If it was an Oprah show, you would be a Supreme Court justice. You would be a Supreme Court. She would be around the room. We'd have a whole new court by Oprah. You know, like it would be. That's how it is. But that's literally how it is. Like it's a joke, but it's not. Like that's how it works.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There's no formal requirements, and again, you know, how many people know that? I'm not sure. I mean, I guess if I wouldn't have taught the subject, I wouldn't have known. Maybe that there really are no.
Learned it right now.
yeah, and hey, that's the thing, man. Is all it takes is just a little tidbit of information here and there that people can pick up to understand how the system works and how it's flawed. And again, if anything, it should be a patriotic responsibility to be able to call out the deficiencies of our government, because you know, we always want it to be a more perfect union, right? Well, how do we get there unless we call our weaknesses out and try to improve them?
And we can fix the Constitution. That's the thing. People act like that thing is permanent in stone. We've added so many amendments. You know, there were 10 when we got it. Now there's 28. You know, it's not like it. So, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, and again, the problem really goes back to who do we have in Congress, and do they want to do what the people want or not? Because, we could add amendments all day long. We technically could redraft a constitution. But again, the hoops, just like you said about getting a third party, any seriousness in elections, it's the hoops you have to jump through in order to get there. It's just ridiculous, man.
Yeah, we'll never. I mean, and I'm comfortable not having a new constitution. Our constitution's pretty goddamn good, and if things aren't the way that we want it, we can just add an amendment. Like when we outlawed liquor, and then we made another amendment to nullify that amendment. Like it's not like it's impossible to do that. It's very possible.
Well, and the interesting thing is, I think it was Thomas Jefferson said that when the Constitution was being adopted, he said this document probably has about a 200 to 250 year lifespan.
Yep.
And we are past
up
that I mean, we're past the 200-year mark, and it's super interesting, like how it can get outdated. I saw Joe Rogan was doing stand up, and he said, he was making a joke about it, and he said these founding fathers would come back and they would look at that Constitution and be like, you guys are still using this one. Like you didn't come up with your own yet. Dude, like this is it, huh?
I have something very similar in my. I don't know if I can say it anymore because now apparently Rogan's got a fucking joke, and Rogan's always got jokes. God damn it! But no, mine was just like if you brought those founding fathers back, we'd be like, yeah. So basically, right now we've got the House of Representatives with 435 people, and the Senate's got 100, and these assholes from California are really having a problem with that. And the founding fathers be like, wait, what the fuck is California? First of all, like where we moved to DC? When the fuck did we get there? I thought we were in Philadelphia, dude. When the fuck did we get up to DC? What is that? Is there an owl in the ground? Why is the street an owl? Like they wouldn't be like, oh, very nice, the Constitution's working perfectly. They'd be like, you guys are still using that motherfucker, dude.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine, like, it's like when you go to work and you get the training video from 1985 and it's got, like, the grainy sound and shit, and they roll it out on the boob tube with the VCR, and, like hi, this is Janet, and it's, like, showing, like, an old-ass diesel fucking powered forklift, and you're like, okay, so we use propane now, a little different, but...
Yeah, this applies. Still applies.
It's that's basically what we're doing. We're watching old training videos and shit, and it'd be like if we were all trying to read the Bible in Hebrew still. It'd be a little tough to translate at this point. We're like, I don't know what this
Yeah.
says. It'd be tough. God damn it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your next plans for traveling?
Well, honestly, traveling. Geez, I don't know, man. I mean, I've had some places on the bucket list, but honestly, when COVID hit, like,
Shut it
it's just
down.
been such a freaking pain trying to get anywhere. What a lot of people don't realize is how if you read law, you can understand where you really can and can't go. In a lot of places that the media or whatever the information that was getting out saying you can't go here and there, you really can, but you just have to make sure you know the requirements. But for me, I've been wanting to get to Petra in Jordan
Yeah.
for I don't know how long. So Jordan's on the list. I feel like especially when I'm in Europe, I'm so close to Egypt. Like
Dude,
seeing the pyramids
yeah,
is
man.
just something. And then what's been on my list for probably 5 years now. It's been at the top of my list is Machu Picchu
Yeah,
in
dude.
Peru. Like
Oh, I want to go to Machu Picchu. I know, dude. I know.
and that's the thing. It's like, man, like when I was teaching, it was awesome because I knew that I would have the summer block to basically plan
do your
trips and
thing,
stuff.
yeah.
And now it's a little bit more interesting trying to do. I've got my own like side projects that if I could do any of them full time, that would be so sick. But like in the meantime, if I can get remote work, then it gives me a little bit of flexibility to still try to get these trips in. But yeah, like this past summer, really did like a tour of Poland because we were going to road trip down to Croatia. I was there last summer. Croatia's just awesome, and so we were going to road trip down there. But then, literally like 2 days before, I think it was like Slovakia changed their entry restrictions, even if we were just transiting through. So then you couldn't do that. So yeah, it's been a little bit stalled, but yeah, it's
So cool though.
I
You've
don't
been to
know.
fucking Iceland. You've been all over, dude. You've been literally all over.
Yeah, yeah, and that was the thing is like I took when I graduated college, I just took a trip to um, here in Poland. I just had like a surprise graduation gift. I'm like, well, am I going to use the money to like start paying off school, or am I going to go to Europe? And I'm like, I'm going to Europe for sure. And
Absolutely.
then after that, I just got the travel bug. And then I think it was the next year, my friend in Australia, I was like, yep, I'm going to go visit them. And I started looking at flights and stuff because I really like to like travel like as wicked cheap as I can.
Oh,
And so I
absolutely.
was looking and I'm like, man, I could fly for about the same cost if I would just go to like Seattle or San Francisco and then go to like Australia from there. I was like, I can do the same, if not less,
Yep.
if I went through Europe and Asia and then got to Australia. And so I did that. And I took a trip, literally went from like East Coast of the U.S., Europe, Asia, Australia, stopped in Hawaii, went across the
Oh, that's
West
the
Coast. So
shit. Like
that
the
was
fucking world
like
tour.
that to me was like one of my bucket list things that like I was like, yo, if I can
Literally
take one
circled
trip around the
planet.
world,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. So that was sick, yeah. And then Iceland, man, I've just been like, it's funny that you bring it up because yeah, Iceland was one of the first countries I went to, and that's the country, man. Like I just want to get back there. And I had somebody ask me, if there's any country aside from like Poland and the U.S. if I would want to live, and I said honestly, it'd probably be Iceland. Like
Yeah.
especially coming from North Dakota, like man, Iceland's it's so sick.
Dude, North Dakota, I'm going to be honest with you. I love North Dakota. Like, I do. I love it there, man. Like, so many people shit on it. And I think it's because, like, most of my friends in North Dakota are from there. So it's like, that's what they. And it's the same way that I shit on Wisconsin. It's actually a beautiful state. It's actually gorgeous.
It is.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
I just am from there, so it's all I've ever known, and it's time to fucking go.
Yeah.
Like, you can only sit in the nest for so long before there's other trees to check out. And
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I drove through. We had to drive to Chicago last spring or winter, and man, I was stoked to drive through Wisconsin because I'm like, geez, that's because I don't know. I'm super biased and I'm not a huge fan of Minnesota, but I'm like Wisconsin's dope, and yeah, North Dakota. I hope people keep underestimating it and keep thinking that it's just not worth their time because
Yeah.
I think that's the charm
That's the
is
best
that there's
part.
not tons of people there.
I
Like
know.
and that's what I love is like being here like by Warsaw, like it's just metropolitan area. it's residential house, like it's just tons of people, right? And then I go back home and it's like the exact opposite. Like my folks live out on the west side, like out in the Badlands, and
Yeah.
like, man, it's just, yeah, I feel like it just gets better and better every time I go back there.
Well, it's like when I would go home with Bray back for like holidays and shit, man. Fuck, I loved it. I looked forward to
Yeah,
that, man. Like the western part of the state was beautiful, and especially like,
yeah.
because we would go to the res, because and I loved the reservation. I don't people shit on it, but
Mm-hmm.
I love it, man. It's fucking open territory. Like people leave
Mm-hmm.
you the fuck alone. Like
Mm-hmm.
like it's
Yeah, it's a different way of life,
it's
man.
very nice. It's weird that people shit on it so, and I'm glad that I got to experience it multiple times too. So like, and especially because I'm fucking white. Like, look at the skin, And they were not mean to me, and they definitely
Yeah,
could
yeah.
have and probably should have been because my people fucked them over. Bad, bad, bad.
Well,
But they're
yeah,
like
and that's the
so
thing.
inviting. Like, you didn't do that. You didn't do that. Come on in. I'm like,
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it
Well,
here.
that's the thing is because the school that I worked at was like, I don't know, 4 miles off the reservation, and our student population was like 95% Native American, and so I got to have some real conversations with them because, like, yeah, growing up, like Killdeer was like close to the res, and obviously, like, yeah, Bray, where his family's at
Yeah.
and stuff, but like being able to actually teach students from that demographic and getting to, like, I wouldn't ask my like young kids, eighth, ninth graders. But when I'd get those mature upperclassmen, I would have those conversations with them, and I would just say, how do you feel about this? What do you think about this? And yeah, it's super interesting where, there's a lot of pride there. There's a lot of pride in the culture, and that's something that's interesting about the U.S. When I come to other countries, is seeing how, we talk about how in the U.S. like cultures aren't maybe embraced or accepted or I don't know, shown off as much. But it's like, yeah, compared to some other countries, like
Yeah, it is.
there's a lot of diversity and a lot of pride in the minority groups within the U.S. Like and being in different countries, it's cool to see like how much of it there really is in the U.S.
Yeah. No, I honestly, I love seeing it. The thing that was hard to learn was when he was telling me that the very last Mandan speaker is like no one else knows the language. There's only one person left. Fuck, man. Like like we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna literally experience the extinction of a language. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's tough to hold on. Like that's a tough thing to hear. It's
Yeah,
written
yeah.
down, so I'm sure someone could relearn it. But the original like dialect of it, the original, it's gone.
Gone. Yeah. Yeah, that's the tough thing too, is yeah, you look at our ugly history, and yeah, like there's a reason that it's to the point now today that languages are gonna go extinct,
Yeah.
because we literally would grab children and say, hey, you're cutting your hair, you're changing the
Come
way
with
you
us. Yeah,
dress,
literally.
and you're gonna speak English, and that's it. And
Yeah,
yeah, no
the
wonder
literal
these
word for
languages
it,
are
the literal
yeah.
term for that program was "save the man, kill the Indian." That was the
Mhm.
literal phrase that they would use. That's horrible.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, I had a professor when I was going to undergrad who he just I believe he was white, but he just had this fascination about Native American culture that I've never seen in my life. Like, I don't even know if Native Americans have this, interest in the vast differences in the many tribe cultures and stuff. And he was the first person that had told me that about that policy of killing the Indian, saving the
Yeah,
man.
it's terrible.
Wild.
What
Yeah.
got me so into Indian studies and Native American studies was when I went to the at UND. We showed up as Sioux.
Mm-hmm.
We were students as North Dakota, and we left as a fucking fighting hawk. So like we went through some shit as students. And
Yeah. Yeah.
when I was still working with the president at the time, because I was involved with trying to save the Fighting Sioux logo, when I was at the university, like I had meetings with him, and we went to go meet with like Native American body too, and um, with the people that I met with, the Sioux people, there was a deal going on where they gave the nickname to the university. It wasn't taken. It wasn't used
Mm-hmm.
without their permission. It was given to the university in exchange for free education for the Native American people. Seems fair to
Right.
me. Especially like that seems awesome. Like free education for
Good,
them.
good trade-off. Good
You know,
trade-off.
and thankfully the free education part is still intact. Like they can still go and get free education at the University of North Dakota, thank God. But like, what if that would have gone away because you've nullified the deal? I mean, what's more racist, the logo or taking away the education of people? You know, like what's worse? Tell me. You know, and so once I got involved with that and meeting with the people and finding out what the tribes actually want is like way different than what white people say they want. Like white people have a very weird way of being like they are a strong, independent people, and that's why they need me to speak for them. Like it seems to be the way that people are. It's fucking let them talk, dude.
Yeah, it's interesting because I can't remember who this YouTuber is, but I watched this YouTuber who basically would wear and for anyone listening, I'm Mexican, so I can say this, all right? But it was basically a white guy would just dress up in a poncho and a sombrero and a fake mustache, and he would just walk around and ask people, "Hey, do you like my outfit?" And he did it in the U.S. and he did it in Mexico. And in the U.S., I know you wouldn't be surprised, Jake, how many people said that was offensive or that he shouldn't do that. And then he goes down to Mexico and asks people, in Mexico, and they say, "Yeah, we love it. That's awesome."
Looks good.
And that's kind of similar with the whole UND mascot fiasco. Is look at Florida State, right? You guys know, going to UND a lot more of the actual timeline and details of what happened.
Went to Florida State.
What's that?
My girlfriend went to Florida State.
Oh, dude, that's perfect so that's where my question comes up is, from my understanding, UND and Florida State essentially had the same type of structure and arrangement set up where the university asked for permission from the specific tribe, and then basically the tribe gave permission. Now, is that wrong or right in a nutshell?
You are sort of right. So what happened, originally, no, Florida State has never been given permission to use the Seminole logo.
Okay, I'm wrong there.
So
okay.
And it's weird though. They sort of have and they sort of haven't. It's kind of in the same way UND. So because of the Trail of Tears, the Seminole tribe is split into two. There's a Seminole tribe in the South and there's one in the Midwest. And like the Sioux, they're both in the Dakotas. Like there's the Lakota tribe and then there's the Standing Rock
Lakota
and Spirit
the
Lake.
Nakota.
Yeah. And the Spirit Lake tribe was like we have other things to worry about than your logo. That's basically what they said. We have literal hunger on our land. We have shit to worry about. And so they didn't even bring it to a vote for their council. Now, the other council members wanted to come to a vote, and there was one person who vetoed the vote and wouldn't let it happen. So the Spirit Lake tribe, the people in the tribe wanted the nickname. The tribal leader vetoed the vote, not allowing there to be a vote, which led Standing Rock to be the only tribe giving us permission to use the name. Since we didn't have permission from Spirit Lake, couldn't use it. So the Florida State never got their permission, right? And they were required to get permission again by the NCAA when we were required to get the second round of permissions. And they did not get permission from either tribe again. And the NCAA said, "Okay, thank you very much," and they got to keep using their name. How does that?
How?
Because their franchise or their merchandise sales and their rights sales for the Seminole logo is so big that if they were to change the logo, the athletic program at Florida State would financially crumble. They would ruin the program. UND was just big enough for everyone to notice the name was changed, but small enough for no one to care. It was like a good perfect size punching bag. It was an example to show yep, the NCAA, we're doing something, we're putting our foot down. But here we are, Florida State, getting they ride horses with white people dressed up as Native Americans onto the field, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But we had actual Native Americans come into the Ralph leading our chants, and that's racist. So America.
That's it comes down to the almighty dollar, doesn't it?
It comes down to money. And no one in the NCAA gives a fuck if you like them or not. If they cared, they wouldn't have made the video game and then not given any money to any of the players, and they wouldn't have not paid any of their players for years, and they wouldn't have pretended they were literally giving more full ride scholarships to white people than minorities. If they actually cared about people, that shit wouldn't be going on. So don't fucking tell me you care about the damn logo, because you fucking don't. You care about money and your optics. And
Yeah.
I wish more people saw that, but more people are just like so ready to be on the righteous train, because what it comes down to is something big happens and everyone wants to be on the right side of history, so everyone has to quick make sure they make their post on social media on the right. Look at me, I'm right too, look how right I am, I'm on the right side of this one, check me out, don't forget about me. Like, that's really what it comes down to, is me, 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 me. And if they're right and they get all the little likes and the attention bug for it, then cool. That solidifies their opinion that they were right in the first place. It's like when a dog does something right and you give him a treat. That's basically what happens with social media. Like, you say something the masses like and you get likes for it, you know?
Yeah, I think we're in a dangerous, and I've been thinking this for, geez, I don't know, probably the past year or so. But this phrase, and I'm sure I'm not the one that came up with it. Otherwise, I would have, like, a lot more money. But the sake of progress just to have progress.
Yeah.
Right. It just seems like people want to change the narrative of something to say, oh, well, we are progressing as a people, and
we
it's
are
like
putting our foot down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, does this progress, is it needed?
Yeah.
And will it improve, or is this just going to cause unneeded controversy?
I say, well, I mean, is it progress on an ulcer, or is it progress on, like, what are we doing here? Are we building an ulcer or fixing the ulcer? Like, you don't always go the right way just because you're going somewhere. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I
I like the Sioux hat. I like the Sioux hat, though. By the way,
thank you. The hat.
For those that obviously can't see him, but they can hear him. Jake's rocking some mad UND gear. He's got the classic UND Sioux stuff on. So
yeah, because they had a great weekend of hockey. They had a great season of football. I'm proud of those boys. They've been through a lot of shit. The university really fucked over our student athletes left and right. The student body's really taken a punch. And they're still going to games strong and kicking ass and taking names. So you gotta be. I'm here for the boys. I'm here for the boys and the girls.
And that's the thing that's sick, man. Because, like, going to a smaller school in the state and then coming up and visiting you guys back when we were in college, like, man, it was seriously like another world. Like,
yeah, dude.
I think that's why I don't remember much, is because it was seriously like. I mean, I know there's bigger schools, Alabama, whatever, Auburn, all these other schools.
We don't want to be a bigger school.
But UND, for coming from a small town North Dakota kid and seeing, like, what it's like there, you're like, yeah, that's basically what it's like in the movies. Like, that's what college is like in the movies. And then to see, like, at the games, they're still chanting the Sioux chants and stuff. Like, man, that's like, that tells you right there, like, it's a brotherhood, like, it's part of something bigger, and how does there come something negative out of that?
And it's not, that's what the people who changed it don't understand what they did. Like, you stripped a culture. Like, you don't understand what you've done. Like, taking away fighting Sioux hockey, you've taken a lot more than what you think you've taken. You've taken, like, tradition, family, people's generations getting passed down. Like, there's people that I know in Grand Forks who are committed to play for UND, whose dads played for the UND, but they're not going to be able to be a Sioux. Like, their grandpa was a Sioux, their dad was a Sioux, but now they've got to be a fucking U.S. mail logo. Like, it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is when they were doing the rebrand. I mean, Blaine's design.
Yeah,
right.
We talked about it on this show. We talked about it on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I listened to that episode too, and like, they could have done the rebrand at least right, to pay honor to the previous design and all the history that went behind it.
Let the student body let us have one here. Let the student body have one. We wouldn't spend $500,000 to some firm on the East Coast to give us this bullshit.
Yeah. Thanks for United States Postal Fighting Hawks.
It's not even a hawk. A hawk does not have the feathers on the back of their head like that. That's a goddamn eagle. Like, it's the wrong bird.
And the fact that it was from an outside of North Dakota, like, to me,
out of touch.
When they said that they were outsourcing it beyond North Dakota, I thought, man, if you really just wanted to pour salt in the wound and slap them on the face, there it was.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, granted, we were biased. Like, Blaine's design was, I truly believe that was the best out of any option I had ever seen.
Yes, we were biased because he was our friend. But at the same time, they also sell that actual logo in merchandise stores. Like, it's a licensed logo now, so it's not like it was a bad one. People prefer it. I've seen more of his logo on hats than I've seen that goddamn dove. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it's upsetting. Or at least have asked like Bennett Bryan to be a part of it, the guy who made the original Sioux logo, who
Oh
by the
yeah, yeah,
way
yeah, yeah.
is a goddamn Native American. For the
Hmm.
record, like so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sad. It's sad. But this past weekend was the 20th anniversary of the new Ralph Engelstad Arena, and the Sioux won their games, so it was a good anniversary. We'll forget what Ralph
Nice.
Engelstad did. We'll leave that. You know the history of Ralph Engelstad, right?
The way that you worded that makes me definitely question. I'm sure I don't now. I thought
So
I did, but clearly I
there's
don't.
a very dirty part of Ralph that they leave out every time they tell a story about him up in North Dakota. So, because down here he's a big name down here too, because he owned like half the goddamn strip. So like there's
Yeah.
streets named after him. There's Engelstad Drive. There's Ralph Road. There's shit named there's stuff named after him down here.
Yo, I never knew that.
Yeah. That you like look up Engelstad Drive in Las Vegas. It's like right behind the strip. So anyway, he was very much a Nazi sympathizer. He got in
Ah,
big doo doo down here because he had a sizable collection of memorabilia, things to Hitler, lots of swastikas, some iron crosses, a couple things that maybe you shouldn't be having in the 21st century. So
yeah.
yeah, so that's a little secret that they're like, yeah, let's leave that part out of the story when we tell it.
Yeah, now that you say that, I actually do remember hearing something about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
years
very
ago,
real.
I remember. Yeah,
People
that's
down here that
wild.
I've talked to people because I've done some commercials for some of the casinos and stuff down here, and
Oh, nice.
you get to talking to some like the people that have been around for a while when they remember like Engelstad's casino and stuff, and
Yeah.
yeah, they're all like, oh yeah, no, the Nazi guy, yeah, yeah, oh that's not good.
Oh my
I thought he
gosh.
was the North Dakota hockey guy. I thought you know him differently than I know him. That's weird.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So little bit of a little whoopsie in the history line there that we'll touch that later. We'll
Yeah.
dampen it. Yeah.
Well, and that's the interesting thing too, man. Like me having studied like history and politics and stuff it's so interesting. You know, I tried it when I was teaching. I tried to explain to my kids, keep in mind what you read and where you're reading it from, because history is subjective. It depends on who's writing it, right? And that's a perfect
Exactly.
example of that is, yep, up in North Dakota, he is the righteous Ralph,
Yo,
and
thank
down
you,
there, I
Ralph.
guess it's,
Let me show you, because before I knew, I've got. Hold on.
yeah,
All six thank you, Ralph coins. All six of them. With the Sioux
yeah,
head
man.
and the silver coins. All of it.
Yeah,
And, whoops.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's
You
just
know.
like Henry Ford, right? He was a big sympathizer, like, and
Oh,
you don't.
sympathizer is quite the term for what he did. Do you know
Well,
the history of Ford motor cars in World War II?
well, basically, we're running Ford Nazis. I mean,
Dude, their trucks, their tanks, everything were Ford. Everything that
yeah,
they had were goddamn
that's
Ford.
what I'm saying, and
Mitsubishi made the
that's
Japanese Zero, which shot down like countless American pilots. Yeah, it's a history that you've got to take with a grain of salt. But I'm not gonna like let it get in the way of me loving the Sioux. Fuck out of
well,
here.
and that's the thing is I'm just trying to highlight the point of history is really what people want to take from it now.
Yeah.
And I mean, we see that, and without getting into like right or wrong or whatever with like the Confederate statues, right? Is you have uh, again, it's picking and choosing the history that we want to acknowledge, right?
So just
And
I'm
yeah,
curious on the
if
Confederate statues. What do you think about them?
honestly, I and it's funny that this even came up because I was thinking about like this since like we set up our podcast here, and I was like, man, I wonder what topics we're gonna cover and
Anything,
whatnot.
anything
And
and
I'm like,
everything.
yeah, I'm like, geez, Jake better be ready. We're gonna do like a 3 parts. I'm gonna take over one of his podcasts, and
No,
we're gonna just run one
I
together,
literally have you until like I have 2 more hours dedicated to you. Also, I'm gonna go take a
dude.
leak real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna go take a bathroom break. We'll be right back.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah,
we're back. We're back. We were talking about cool shit. And we weren't even recording, so let's. No,
just never stops.
we were just talking about how Andrew Yang dropped out, joined the Forward Party, and it's like, oh, that makes sense because he was hanging out with the Mark Cuban, the Mavericks owner, and obviously Mark Cuban is a big like anti-corruption person in politics too. He helps. He donates to the ACLU. He's very big into justicey type shit, which is dope because most rich people are not. Most of them lobby against justice.
Well, and me just being a diehard Mavericks fan, I don't know how many people even know about this, and quite frankly, I don't even know if it still exists. But years ago, and I want to say, because I held off getting Snapchat I literally got Snapchat because I lost a bet. But before I had Snapchat, I had this app called Cyberdust. Have you ever heard of this?
I know what Cyberdust is. Yep.
Yeah. So Cyberdust, for those that are listening that don't know, Cyberdust was literally a Snapchat-like app that Mark Cuban was behind. I don't know how involved he was, but it was, his stamp of approval was on it. I'm just trying to plug in my laptop here.
Good, dude.
His stamp of approval was on it. And essentially what it was Snapchat, but there is no storage of any of your messages whatsoever.
Right.
It literally, once it's sent and I send it to Jake opens it, then it is gone forever.
Yep.
And so that does show like him being that anti-corrupt,
And just so people know, screenshotting is not something that yes, you can screenshot, but you're not able to screenshot whatever you want. Like if you have, let's say like an application doesn't want you to be able to screenshot like a picture, they can write in the code that's blacked out when you take the picture. Totally fine. Snapchat chooses not to. Snapchat chooses to allow that. So there's a lot of things that people think is well, that's just kind of part of the system. No, it's not. A lot of the things that you think are vulnerabilities are allowed vulnerabilities, especially when you're on Facebook. And that brings me up to my next topic. This Chrissy Haugen, is that her name? Chrissy Haugen, the Facebook whistleblower. I don't buy it. I don't buy this for one goddamn second. What? So I'm supposed to believe this lady stole a bunch of documents, right? Leaves, and now she's on fucking 60 Minutes. She's in Congress. She's the fucking...
She got a PR team.
She's the goddamn center of attention for the whole fucking universe. Call me when Julian Assange is out of prison for being a fucking journalist reporting the same bullshit. Call me when Snowden's allowed to come home. I'm calling bullshit on this one. She is bought and paid for. I am telling you right now, she is the government. I'm telling conspiracy theorists. No, there are actual companies that headhunt people in companies to work with the federal government to whistleblow. That is a real thing that happens day in and fucking day out because there's big money in whistleblower settlements. And so I don't buy that she's I got just tired of this and I just had to say something. Bullshit. They gave you $1 million fucking dollars is what happened. Don't fucking lie to me, Chrissy. You want to be on
TV? More than that.
Don't fucking lie to me. You have primetime TV spots, and you're the center of attention for the whole world, and everyone's listening to you like you're the beam of right. You are a software engineer at an entry-level company. Fuck you. I don't care what you have to say. And especially the whole Facebook is not doing enough to stop people from talking, from making groups. No shit. That's what the fucking platform is for. We don't want them to come in and censor us more. I don't want it. Shut up.
See, and that's the thing. That's the thing. So I'm not as familiar. I've been seeing it all over the news, but I haven't really given this whistleblower hardly any of attention. But I'll agree with you in the fact that it is very interesting. If you don't have an eyebrow raised because this woman comes forward with a loaded team of lawyers and a PR team, and she is getting. Yeah. How convenient that they are setting these blocks of time off for. I mean, come on, you got to question it. But getting into the censoring, right? You can say I'm a hypocrite, but because I use Facebook, I'm going to use YouTube, and I'm not going to stop. But I just tweeted out about this earlier. I think it was last week about how interesting it is that we need those companies to censor information from us. Because again, it kind of goes all the way back to pandemic and vaccine stuff is when did human beings, especially adults, lose the ability to interpret information for themselves and make decisions based on it, right? It's just like reading history books. You have to understand that not everything in there is the truth. And once you can recognize that, it takes practice, it takes skill.
Oh, right.
You obviously can't just read a headline, but at the same time, I would rather all of the information be given to me as opposed to what an outside body is determining as misinformation or dangerous. You know.
What I think it comes down to, truthfully, is time. Is nowadays, you have both the father and the mother of the house working full-time hours. Kids go to, you wake up, get the kids to school, go to work, come home, feed dinner, go to bed, wake up, do it. Like, people have to fucking get their info quick because there literally is not much time in the day anymore. And I really think most Americans are just trying to get by. They're just trying to get by in the day.
Yeah.
And what they're hearing what people tell them, and they're not really able to. I mean, who has the time to go to the fucking library and sit down and read about shit? Or like, like if I didn't have the job that I have, I'm blessed to be a comedian and like be able to pay my bills doing the shit that I do, because most people have to fucking wake up every day at 6 and go to some job they fucking hate and go tend to a life that they don't even like. I think that just because the job that I have requires me to read up on all this shit so I can make fun of it.
That's true.
I make fun of all of it. And comedy is a good way of getting info anyway, because we're able to say shit in a way that you're like, oh, that does sound really stupid. Like, we'll say it in a different way that you probably haven't thought of yet. Even if it's the same topic. Like, why does every country in the world use the same phrase, build back better? That's not Biden's phrase. That's every country in the world's phrase. That's not you.
You posted that on Twitter, didn't you?
You don't
posted
think there's
that
something
recently.
weird about that? Get the fuck out of here. That's very weird. Every country in the world's trying to build back better in English. Every country with fuck off.
Yeah.
The English words are on the front of every podium. Build back. You're gonna tell me there's not some global effort here? There is, and it's right in front of your face. And I can give you newscasts of everyone saying the same shit. I'll line up every fucking video from 160 stations saying the same lines over and over and over. So wherever you are, it's one guy telling you what to say and think, and that's, I think, what it comes. There's really no diversity in information. There's no diversity in news, and there's really no diversity in social media. And the problem is, well, why don't they? You don't like it, then make your own. Well, Parler tried that. How'd it go for them? Amazon shut them down one day after the I think it was just all that happened is they're not a conservative network. Conservatives just happen to use it more. And so because of that, Amazon was like, you don't follow our policies and we're going to shut you down. Like, they tried to make a new one. People went to it, and then you fucking shut them down for it. So, like, what do you want? What do you want? If we have to use these ones that are here, then we're going to make some rules that say you can't fucking tell me what I can and can't say, because I'm still in Facebook jail. I've been in jail for like 3 months, dude. I can't talk for like 10 more days.
See, and that's what I'm saying is,
you're just not a part of town square anymore.
Yeah, either let those separate mediums exist, or let information flow freely. I mean, like I said, I get that legally, these companies don't want to be responsible for actions that may happen because of X, Y, and Z.
But they're not.
But
it's already in law that they can't be. That's what
I'm saying.
Everyone's bitching about. Article 215. We got to repeal that. They already have exemption from it.
And that's what I'm saying is, what then is the harm in letting all information flow? Because if you're going to tell me that Mike down the street posting about how he's not getting the vaccine because of X, Y, and Z is more dangerous than Karen down the street saying that her neighbor is smoking crack in the garage, whether that be true or not, how do you, again, it's that snowball that just grows. How are you going to decide what is dangerous and you can justify it being eliminated?
Not even how, like, who is going to decide this? Who is going to be the guy? Because they're unelected. No one chose. It's people that were hired from a firm to work as an editor for Facebook. It's not like anyone you know. And I'll show you a quick picture of. I'm sure everyone's seen it. The Facebook review team for community standards. Have you seen it? All white women. Every single one of them a white woman. All of them. Same with the editorial board for the Huffington Puff. All of those goddamn super lefty things are all white women. It's very
interesting. Where's their hairline? Right about here?
Always. And there's like 14 of them that are really, really fat, but you can't say it because then you're fat shaming. Even though, I don't get that. Why is it okay? It's okay to tax cigarettes because you're putting a health risk on others for especially you take up space in the hospital for smoking if your lungs go bad, all that other shit. Being obese is way worse for you than smoking. Way worse. So why isn't there a tax for being fat? I just pissed off half my audience. I'm very sorry. I don't mean what I'm saying. I'm just making an example of if we're gonna start. If the core of if the core of your concern is saving hospital space and keeping people healthy, then let's tax fast food more. We gotta get out of here. We gotta fucking get rid of ice cream.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is, and you're doing, whether people are offended listening to this part or not, you're doing a great job of showing the trivial nature behind people justifying a certain stance or argument, right?
Right.
Because it's the same thing as these people that are being turned away from hospitals for, I saw, what was it, like some woman needed a kidney or something, and they're not going to give it to her because she's not vaccinated for COVID, right? But what about the person that had, I don't know, that needs needs heart surgery because theirs is failing because of unhealthy, we'll just say unhealthy, I'm air quoting, unhealthy habits, right?
Right.
But they're still going to get the heart. So again, where do you draw the line, and then who is drawing the line? That's a great point.
It's no one we're ever going to meet. That's the thing. It's no one we're ever going to meet, and it's no one. And the thing that a lot of people love. I mean, the term shill, because I don't know another term for it. Like, people using the word simp now, but like for these politicians and for like Dr. Fauci and all these people, and it's like, dude, none of these people have ever put food on your table. None of them have ever come to your house, dude. Like, you have always been the guy taking care of your life, and you always will be.
Yeah. Have you seen? I literally posted it on Twitter today. Where were we at? Like, I guess 3 hours ago now. I said, because I saw something in the news, and I can't remember if it was CNN or ABC or who had posted it, but it basically said Fauci is saying that kids can go trick-or-treating. And I tweeted out there, I was like, why do the news headlines read like Fauci is everyone's dad? Fauci says kids can go trick-or-treating this Halloween. Fauci advises virtual Thanksgiving gatherings for families. Yeah. And it's like, the decision makers, like, can we not interpret? Let us interpret information and make our own decisions. Yeah. And here's the thing, before COVID really hit, you would see, if you paid attention to the news, and I'm not saying a year before COVID was in the news or anything. I'm talking about your whole life. If you ever paid attention to the news, when people were feeling ill or there was air pollution in an Asian country, they would go out in public with a mask on. Mm-hmm. Okay, 9 times out of 10 it was because of air pollution, but you would also see like, flu season, and people were walking around with masks on, right? And again, you come into this very interesting situation where people are being required to wear masks or being required to be vaccinated and go into public spaces, right? Well, at the same time, you're telling a private company that they have to mandate this or not, but who is putting the gun up to their head saying this customer has to walk into this store and get exposed or possibly be exposed? Right. It's the same thing as make the decision for yourself, okay? And if not, I mean, I'm sure there's ways around it. You can do the food delivery service. You can pick up right from your vehicle. I mean, there's let people make their decisions based off of all of the information. Don't funnel us the information that pushes your agenda, 100%. Because just like pushing the COVID vaccine, it's going to repel people away from it just by the nature of the beast.
Well, and it's everything. Like, even I wish Biden wouldn't have done like the fake setup. Like, he made like the fake Oval Office with the fake sunlight and everything. Why, dude? Like, people
in the press room.
People
why?
Are already calling bullshit on you. Why would you give them another fucking reason to do it? Stop it. It's like the same thing with our last president. Every time he tweet, it's like, bruh, put the goddamn phone away. Like, you are making this harder than it has to be. Way harder. It's annoying. Because our tax dollars paid for that fucking setup. Like, it's so annoying. I don't agree with I don't agree with most of the shit. Like, I don't remember giving anyone authority in the Constitution. I don't remember giving the CDC any authority to tell people, like, you can stop evicting people. You can you have to wear a mask to do this. You have to implement like that. None of that shit is law anywhere. And people use the precedent like, oh well, the Spanish flu that we did it during that. It's like, yeah, we've done things in the past, including kill our wives and get away with it. It doesn't mean it's fucking okay. We used to noose people in the South for having a skin color different than ours. Doesn't mean it's okay. Like just because we've done things doesn't mean it's okay. And it's really weird to see like my friends on the left now who are almost like, you should trust Pfizer, man. Why are you so against the vaccine? Trust them right away, man. Like like. But before,
why does the Pfizer company not require their employees to have the vaccine?
Well, there's so many things like it's like, why can't I ask that? Why am I not allowed to find out?
Yeah.
Because those same people, when Donald Trump was in office, were like, if you're gonna take some fucking 1 year made vaccine, you're out of your goddamn mind. I'm not taking the Trump vaccine. And then Biden's president, and suddenly it's like, if you aren't taking the vaccine, man, you're really irresponsible for society, man. Like, what? It's almost like it's not about the vaccine.
Almost, right? How crazy?
Very close. Yeah, I'm not entirely sold on it yet, but yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. So I'm one of the things that I'd like to do, working remotely, is writing in any context, right? And so one thing that I've been doing is writing kind of opinion pieces and posting them to random places, whether it's my Medium site or just off of Twitter or whatever. And what was it? About 2 weeks ago, I wrote an article that basically was talking about the hypocrisy that comes with each and every individual societal issue, right? And so this one, I was calling out the NBA. Love the NBA, but I said, is the NBA what is the word I'm looking for? Hypocritical. Yeah. Thank you. A hypocritical league. And I basically touched on how, they fully support their players using their platform for more than sports, and whether it be equal rights or social justice or what have you.
Until it comes to the vaccine.
Well, and even so, we had already talked about this. Hong Kong, right?
Right.
The Hong Kong thing came up, and we had GMs and players talking about it, and the league backstep that, and then we see the next backstepping happen with the vaccinations. And so again, it's just like, and that's why there's so much beauty in comedy and sports, because comedy gives you the truth in a way that you can accept to hear it, right? And sports shows you society on a micromanaged scale, and so that's one of the things that's interesting about how the NBA has handled this. And well, we're not going to say you can't play and be, not be vaccinated, but if we really want, our goal is to be 100% vaccinated league, and if you can't play in New York or San Francisco, then so I mean, you can do what you want, make your own choices. But it's so interesting how you see reflections again in both sports and comedy to apply to the real world, and how that information is presented to people,
right,
and whether they're willing to listen to it or not.
Right. It's wild. It's when you join a league, you sign a contract, but it's the same kind of contract that you sign in comedy or in TV, where you either sign it or you fucking go hungry. Like, the terms are there whether you like them or not, and you're going to either sign this and get food, or you're going to go home tonight and starve. Like, that's literally your options. And a lot of these, look back at the history of how many of these players came from fucking nothing,
Yeah.
So, signing a contract to make their family come out of the goddamn burbs, like, let's get them out, why not? And the inner cities and shit. And they didn't sign up to be forced to take shots. They didn't sign up to be told if they can or can't talk about Hong Kong. They didn't sign up to be told if they can or can't travel to New York or not. It's getting it's way too far. The curve, we're well past the curve where it's gone too far. That's what it comes down to. It's not even that we're coming up to it. We've passed the curve.
And how interesting is it? We praised our healthcare workers for being in the heart of
Pots
it, being
and
in the
pans.
battle.
Ding, 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 ding.
And yeah,
all right, you're fired. Hey, Army, we need the Army medics in here. How quickly did how quickly did 2 weeks to slow the spread turn into a fucking military takeover of hospitals?
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, your tweets, like I said, like, we were tweeting back and forth like last week or whatever, and I was saying like, yo, like, your tweets, and I'll tell you this. I relate with so many of your tweets, but I have this strict rule. If there is any type of swear word in a tweet, I will not favorite it and here's why. Because I will run for president one day, and when it comes back that I favorited some tweet that had a swear word, then I'm gonna get hung and crucified because of that.
Right.
But man, when you had tweeted that one out, basically saying we're gonna applaud our healthcare workers, and then when they decided not to get vaccinated, we're gonna just hang them out to dry and call the military, and then I'm like, preach, brother.
Well, that's what happens.
Keep it coming.
They literally spent like 60 hours a fucking week in these jumpsuits to get the initial curve done, and now that we don't need you, see ya, bye. That's like literally they're like just fucking. Our government is just a pimp. Like, we're done with those hoes. See ya, we got new hoes. We got new bitches on the horizon. We don't need you. Like, we got our own.
That'll do what we say.
Yeah, but they're employed by us. They do what we tell them to do. We don't need to ask. So, there honestly should be some sort of fucking. At some point, like, I feel like the Third Amendment's got to come in at some point here, where the military can't just the Third Amendment, obviously the military can't commit quarters in your house during peace or wartime, but like, what if they're just in the hospitals and they're just taking your? I don't know. This is getting weird. This is just getting fucking to a point where I never thought we'd get.
Well, and that's the wild thing about it, because like that has that not been the theme for the last almost 2 years now?
100%.
There's no way it's going to get to this point, and then it gets to that point, and then we're like,
holy shit,
yo, that's crazy, but there's no way it's going to get to this point. And then Australia's down there on the other part of the world, and they're like, we've been trying to tell you guys this whole time, but our internet got shut off.
Yeah, like literally we couldn't talk to you guys. I turned off our phone.
Yeah, like how is that?
We've been trying
I
to
just
tell
don't
you,
understand.
but our internet's been shut. I shouldn't laugh, but that is what happened.
That's the truth. Like, that's the fact of the matter. And to not to give any wrong information, I tried to confirm that with my friend down in Melbourne, and at the time he had told me that they didn't turn it off, but he was expecting them to. But I mean, that's the thing. It's every point we're just like, it's not going to get worse than this. It's not going to get worse than this. And then gas prices are the highest they've been in 7 years, and you're like, well,
yeah. Yep.
How good is it going?
Yep. No, I like there is one tweet though that I fucking love, that it was someone's like, I could go for some mean tweets and $1.89 gas right now, and I was like, oh my god, I could go for some $1.89 gas so bad.
Yeah, no, I saw that tweet. Jeez, that was probably you or me that retweeted it. We saw it on the other feed, but no, I saw that same thing, and it's.
I didn't even like the guy. That's the thing. I didn't even like the guy, but I liked prices and shit way more when. Man, I don't know. I can't. The mask mandate goes into 2022 officially. Like it's just kidding. I'm just tired of it, man.
That's wild. I'll tell you what. Being on a plane, with masks, it gets old when you're in an airport for 24 hours.
Very quick, man. Yeah, we spent 2 full days in airports. It gets very old very quickly. Especially when the thing that's annoying is like, you'd even like, for instance, I took my mask down, took a drink, and I still had it in my mouth. I haven't even swallowed it yet. And some random passenger's like, "Could you pull your mask up for me?" And it's like, oh my god, I'm sorry, officer.
Drive.
Get the fuck out of here.
Drive. Don't get on a plane then. That's where you drive. Because again, people forget that. And it's a sad fact of reality, but you cannot trust or you cannot count on strangers you don't know in an area where you've never seen them before.
Yeah, exactly.
To do what's in your best interest. You have to do what's in your own best interest. And yeah, if there's the nice person that's going to look out for you and protect you in whatever way, that's great. But if that's the case and you're going to tell somebody that, then you either get a private jet or you drive yourself.
No, for real. There comes a point where personal, and it's not like I didn't have a mask on. It was here so I could take a fucking drink, like, ma'am, And I'm in an airport, so I'm not going to cause a scene, because I'm pretty sure that's the thing. A lot of people know they have an advantage at this point, because like the FAA implemented new laws which again, how does the FAA get to make laws like that? Laws are made by fucking Congress. I don't understand who is being told that they're allowed to do this, and who's listening to them.
It's the same thing with the CDC or the FDA saying, it's not healthy. We won't even get into that right now. But any health guideline, right?
Yeah.
Any health guideline before the pandemic, when did you ever hear somebody quote the CDC
Oh, for
and say,
real.
well, the CDC says this? Nobody.
No
So it's the
one.
same thing as
And
FAA or wherever.
and
It's like,
before the pandemic too, the FDA, everyone's like, well, it's FDA approved now. There are Netflix documentaries showing how bad FDA approvals are. How people have like cobalt implants that are exploding in their hip, giving them cobalt poisoning, making them lose their fucking minds. Like, that's everywhere. That's the FDA. The FDA has approved some crazy shit. The FDA has approved drugs that made people literally, like, you can take a drug for acne that makes you, if you get pregnant, that baby's gonna come out a damn alligator. You know, like, that's FDA approved, totally fine. But now, like, now everyone quotes it like it's the Bible, like it's the gospel. You're like,
well,
oh well, they
and
said.
even when these vaccines were getting emergency authorization through the FDA, how quickly that was interpreted as they have FDA approval, right?
Right.
Because I would guess, I don't know if Jake's got some type of donation page or something, but if you're listening to this right now and you heard them say that just recently that so and so vaccine was FDA approved and you thought that had already happened, send Jake $5 because I would bet you so many people out there were confused because I know I was when I heard that, oh yeah,
Emergency
Pfizer,
authorization. Yep, exactly.
Moderna got FDA approved, and then I had to go back and see, oh, that's right, because the first approval, air quotes, was emergency authorization, which is not the same as a full FDA approval, which is just now, correct me if I'm wrong because I've been between continents, but
No, just now
those,
getting approved. Yep.
yeah, within the last few months. So it's like,
Well, within the last
yeah,
week. FDA approval came last week.
for,
For the, or no, it was last month. Sorry, last month. Time goes by
yeah,
so
it's,
goddamn fast.
yeah, well,
Fuck.
and those new FDA approvals, that's just dropping the age for who can actually take the vaccine, but
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, but like over here we're seeing like a lot of the Scandinavian countries are pausing vaccines because of the side effects that are happening, and it's like,
Man,
well,
I'm gonna
it's
be. I mean, well, honestly, like, I don't know if he wants me to tell the story, so I'm not gonna use his name. But a person I know, his son, 14 years old, got the vaccine and he died. His heart got
no
enlarged and
kidding,
he died. And it was on
no
Twitter, and I
kidding.
retweeted it and stuff, and nobody cared. No one cared.
Wow,
Like, yes,
wow,
literally got the atrial whatever the fuck where your heart gets
yeah,
inflamed. Was brought to
yeah.
the hospital and he fucking died.
That's one
You
of the
know.
side effects, which is why these Scandinavian countries have said we're pausing it.
But
This
it's
is not gonna, we're
crazy.
not gonna do this till we figure it out.
It's crazy because the news has access to this information and you'll never hear it. All you hear is like
Hmm.
the breakthrough. Everyone's seen the picture of the kid with his hand up getting the shot because they want you to see it. It's the same thing as everyone saw the statue of Saddam Hussein fall down in Iraq. Everyone saw it because they
Hmm.
want you to see it. It's the same shit.
Hmm.
You know, it's
Yep.
that's the thing when you control and they do control the media. That's a big problem. Is like then who's the guy that runs the Young Turks? I don't even fucking like him, but he runs.
Oh, gosh, what is his name? Joel Osteen.
No, that's the church guy.
What'd you say? I
The
thought you said church.
no, the Young Turks, the news source, the Young Turks. not the church.
I thought church sounded a lot like church
No,
to me.
but Joel
Holy cow!
Osteen, man, how funny is that? Man, that guy can't even look at you. He's got his eyes all squinted because he's bullshitting so much. Jesus loves you
Oh
so
my
much,
lord!
man. You just give me $15 more, and God's gonna bless the hell out of your life, man. And let me just get on
As
my
long as there's not,
G6. Yeah,
as
lock.
long as there's not a hurricane.
Hurricane season. Lock the door. Click. Joel's
Oh man!
inside.
So what about these young Turks now?
Anyway, the guy, his name is Sir. I think it's Sir something. I don't remember, but he used to work for NBC, and he got in big trouble all the time because he constantly got into fights with like lawmakers and bankers and shit.
Ah,
And he was
okay.
always on the air like, because he was talking to someone from like, I think the Federal Reserve Board, and someone from the
Yeah.
Federal Reserve Board told him that he had contempt for America, and he's like, "You have contempt for America. You've printed over $1 trillion in the last year. We haven't even printed $1 trillion since the beginning of our fucking country." And he's just screaming at him. And the executives from NBC would come in and be like, "Listen, we are a part of the system, and we do as they want us to." And they like
Hmm.
explicitly tell him that. Like, so it's not even a conspiracy theory. It's like a proven thing. And that's the thing. Most of these things that are coined conspiracy theories, like, give it 10 years. Give it 10 years.
Well, see, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, very early
It's hard
on,
because I used to be super anti-conspiracy, and then everything started coming out, and I was like,
dude,
"Fuck, I'm the dumbass for trusting these guys." Like, I trusted
Me-
the news the whole goddamn time, and these guys turned out to be assholes. Because I saw friends getting banned off of Instagram, Twitter, all this shit for saying things that a month later, Fox News, CNN would come out and fucking say it, and it's fine. What?
preach, man. Preach, man. I was the exact
I'm
same
getting
way.
heated. Sorry, everyone.
I
Drives me nuts.
especially when I was teaching, right? When I was teaching, and this one I don't want to get into, but I'll just use it as my example. I had a student on 9/11 basically throw out that it was a conspiracy, and maybe, like I said, I don't want to get into it, but I told him, I said, we're not even going to talk about that in here. We're not going to talk about it. And my belief as a teacher was always, especially teaching like social studies, right? Because I actually get to talk about real life there. And I told him, I said, I'm not going to give you guys my opinion on anything, one way or another.
No.
And they would say, well, what about when we graduate? And I said, maybe when you guys graduate, but until then, you need to make them. I'm going to give you information. You make your own decision. And they came up and they said this conspiracy theory thing. And I said, that's the one time where I said, no, I got to shut that down right now.
Yeah.
But since then, and since I haven't been teaching, I'm like, man, I already said it earlier in the show. I said, I can't even call whatever we were talking about. I said, I'm not going to say conspiracy theory. I'm just going to say theory, right? Because essentially, that's what they are. Conspiracy theories, they don't need the negative connotation behind it because it's a theory. And yes, if you wait long enough, you will see that some of these are actually true. So I'm with you, man. I see the fact
pill
that,
for me
like,
to swallow right now is there is currently an ongoing effort funded by Bill Gates and the likes for cooling the planet by sending jets up to 80,000 feet and releasing particles in the air that suspend and reflect light back into the atmosphere. And the problem with that is that I used to call, because everyone used to, people used to think chemtrails were about, population control and stuff. It's not about population control, but those jets are actually doing that. There are jets doing that. And you can watch YouTube videos about it. Like, it's not hidden anymore. You can really go see it. And, and Iran goes up into the clouds or the UAE goes up with drones and they either inject a sulfate chemical or they shock the clouds to make it rain. Weather engineering is not new. And that's, and that used to be called bullshit. Well, the term conspiracy theory came from the CIA because of the JFK assassination, if you didn't know that.
I did not know that. So that's interesting too, because you look at what you're talking about with like chemtrails and stuff, and man, did I really just lose my train of thought? I was basically going to say something about how, chemtrails, it was totally, even 5 years ago, conspiracy theory all the way.
Looney bin.
But was not UFOs and alien life, right? And then the government comes out just super casually about here's all the information we have on it.
By the way, we have some facts from other worlds. No need to worry about that. Anyway, let's move on. Kim Kardashian's ass, right?
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. It's like, you talk about. I think you worded it perfectly. What used to be a conspiracy theory, you really can't call, because until you have all the facts, you're not going to know.
And
so
the problem is it's kept secret to the point it's like Soviet Union level secret, so you'll never know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but again, it's don't count anything out, because if the last 2 years have showed us anything, it's that you never know what's actually going to come out.
Yeah, well, my favorite release that no one's talking about is, Trump went ahead and declassified almost every JFK assassination paperwork.
All I knew was the UFO stuff.
Donald Trump also declassified information about JFK's assassination, and I shit you not, you can go read it for yourself. I don't even have to lie about it, because you can go read it. It's he in the Senate report there was a congressional hearing in the 70s. And the United States Congress concluded that the killing of JFK was likely a conspiracy, although to the extent they don't know. That's the United States' official opinion on it. The Warren Commission got basically ousted in the 70s by a secret congressional meeting that claims that it was conspiracy, at the which that they don't know.
Isn't it amazing how it takes 50 years and X, Y, and Z for the government to come out and say, I don't know. And then when they tell us how they're going to handle the pandemic and beat the pandemic and
Trust
stop the
them right
curve and
now.
all this stuff, yep, we got to trust them right now. And like I said, from the very start of this, because I was teaching at the time, and every decision that they were making was directly affecting my job.
Yep.
And what I said from the start was, if they could at least be consistent, if you can be consistently dumb or consistently justified in whatever you're doing, as long as you're consistent, that's one thing. But I get that they don't want to spark any panic, but man, who is going to come out and say, listen, our world's never seen something like this. We're not really sure how to handle it. We've got the best experts in the world working on it. You have trusted us as your elected officials to find solutions, and that's what we're working on. We just need you guys to know that we need patience, and sometimes our rulings may not make sense, but again, we're doing the best that we can. Why is that transparency so not even an option for our elected officials?
They want to have this image of like, again, have you seen the HBO show Chernobyl?
No, I haven't.
Gotta check it out because it pretty much puts Congress right where they should be. It literally just it's showing like how the Soviet leaders were basically like saying one thing even though they knew something else because they just wanted to either keep calm or keep the peace or keep their reputation up more than anything. They lied to the Germans. The Germans tried to give them a robot to help them like go up and shovel off all the radioactive shit, but the USSR told them that there was only 300 Roentgen of radioactivity when there was actually like 25,000 Roentgen of radioactivity. So they put the robot down and it fucking fried in like 1 minute because obviously they lied. And I mean, literally in the cleanup effort of the worst nuclear disaster in the world, they weren't honest. So what makes you think that the United States trying to be that is going to be any honest about the worst pandemic in the which literally I don't mean to bring this up, but when I was in the hospital with 108.5 degree fever from H1N1, no one gave a fuck. I was sick and almost dying from that. So why, I'm convinced the only reason why people care about this pandemic so much is because it's the elderly people who are being targeted, and they're the ones in charge. Otherwise, they would not care.
Yeah,
seriously.
Well, and that's the thing, man. Is you look at past diseases and past viruses and whatever, and it's like, what about this one was different, right? What it's. Yeah, I don't know. And that's the thing. Again, going back to like how we're brought up in America to basically, and again, I'm not any bit against the USA at all.
For patriotic record, as they sad come. Is it that we have to keep saying again, love the country? Because everyone's like, you hate America, you hate it. Yeah.
That's the truth. But with that being said, with respect to that, like, you can't trust what your government officials are doing. You can't because it doesn't, believe it or not, it doesn't matter what country it is, whether it is Soviet Russia, whether it's China today, whether it's France, Germany, England, Poland, wherever, you can't, because with knowledge is power, right? And we know that the most knowledge is at the top. And so why would that be reflected down below? So, well, how do you not put all that information from the top to the bottom? You have to keep stuff from being known. And just by the nature of the beast, I don't think it takes a person with more common sense than the average guy to realize we don't get the full picture, right? And the question then becomes, how much information should we be allowed to have versus when can they just say, listen, we can't tell you this because X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And if I had $1 for every time I've said X, Y, and Z on this show, I think I could just do this full time now.
Well, no, dude, honestly, you should start a podcast anyway. You should start like the roaming Colt and just have your adventures. By the way, people listening, you should follow him. He's the roaming Colt on like everything. And
basically everything.
Travels the world and just does cool shit. It's really cool.
I appreciate cool. It. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like,
you and my friend Anthony get along so well. That kid he just fucking went over to India and pet some elephants for fun, and then like walked down to Malaysia. Nice. Like, he's crazy. He's fucking crazy.
Yeah, when I was in Thailand, that was the one thing I wanted to do, was go find a ethically like run elephant sanctuary and just go pet an elephant. I was like, that's the one thing. And then, long story short, I ended up in Milan on accident, and that was a different story. But couldn't do that.
At least you were in Milan. It's a decent city.
Well, I was there for 15 minutes, enough to get a slice of pizza and then head out.
Okay.
But so petting an elephant's still on the list. But man, I don't even know where I was going with that. But
I don't know. Yeah. No, I was just saying. I was just telling everyone how to follow you on Instagram and Twitter real quick, because.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I always like to plug people if they want it. Most people are like, no, don't tell people how to find me. But I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it. Well, and that was a big thing too. Is like when I was a teacher, I didn't want anybody finding me at all. And now that I'm not, I'm like, I really don't care.
Did you get?
But no, I've actually. Hi.
Were you affected by the great banning of Twitter? Were you affected by that? How many followers did you lose?
What do you mean?
So Twitter,
I guess not.
So Twitter went through, and after the insurrection, anyone who's ever said anything positive about Donald Trump, if you've ever had a conspiracy theory, anything like that, they pretty much got rid of you on Twitter.
Really?
And I lost 1,200 followers.
Yeah. Okay, that was the thing. I went on your Twitter, and I was like, I could have swore Jake had like way more fun. Then it's not about that. Like whatever. I'm gonna tell you, if you're listening to Jake right now, because he probably won't plug himself. If you are listening to Jake right now and myself, you got to follow him on Twitter because I'll be your plug for you because, like I said, I might not favorite everything, but man, if I don't read it and I'm like, thank God somebody's saying it, that's the guy that you guys need to follow. What is it? Is it at Jake Ryder?
Yeah, that's it, Jake Ryder. Yep. RID.
Yeah. So
what's interesting is like when I post the shit, I think I'm the outcast because no one fucking. I'm always like, dude, I have fire tweets. And no one says anything. Fuck.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's the thing. Like, I went on your page and I was like, "Yo, I know he had more followers than that." But I guess that explains why. Dude, I didn't see.
I lost so many. I barely have any interactions anymore on Twitter. Like, no one comments anymore because there's no one to fucking comment. They're all gone.
Yeah.
They're all banned.
Yeah.
Fuck. You know, and people are like, "Way to call yourself out on being a Trumper." No, I'm not. I have no control over who follows me. I just happen to say funny shit, and honestly, the right makes funnier memes than the left. That's what it comes down to. They have a better sense of humor. So
well, and here's the thing. Here's the thing: is people every person needs to hear this. Is if you are ever satisfied with your political party, or if you're ever satisfied with your politician that you voted for, you are the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a tough pill to swallow.
It's a very tough pill to swallow. You're very much
that's the truth.
Problem.
It is as soon as your whoever is in charge of, well, not whoever's in charge, but whoever is your big platform or your big icon that you support, as soon as you are completely satisfied with what they're doing, that's when there's a problem. Because you can wake up every day and look at it on an individual basis and say, how can I better myself today? Well, if you can do that, how does that not apply to people that you're electing or the government that is calling your shots?
And
you know,
one of the problems that people have is like, well, I can't do anything about it, but you can. That's the thing is you absolutely can. For the sun is gonna come up tomorrow, whether you get up for it or not, man. Whether you're on the couch or you're out busting your ass, the fucking sun's coming up and the day is gone, whether you want it to be there or not. So, the majority of people that I've talked to, like, well, I have nothing to do about it. I'm like, well, how much time have you spent today watching TV? Seems like a lot of time you could have spent either. It's not hard to submit yourself to be a representative. It's not. You can even do state level. You can be an alderman at your local level. There's a lot of shit you can do, but you don't want to. You want someone else to step up to the plate and take care of it for you, and that's a problem.
And that's the thing is, and that's what I liked about being a teacher. Like I said, I was never going to put my opinions on anything into their heads. But what I did tell them is I got that a lot too at that young age, and it doesn't change as adults. I say, step one is go out and vote. I said, I don't care if you feel like you don't know enough about the nominees, write in my name. Yeah. That's what I tell them. I said, write my name in that. Write in your grandpa's name if you think. Just
put down,
go.
Dude, there was 52,000 Harambe votes in the 2016 election. You could just go. If they were protest votes, they were basically telling them to go fuck themselves. That's what that means.
Yes.
If you don't like the candidates, go vote for Mickey Mouse.
Yep. Mickey Mouse receives more votes annually not annually, every election than almost any existing character on Earth.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Is step one is doing that. Step two is, how hard with social media, and I don't agree with this, but social media has given people that don't deserve a voice. And the benefit to that is, how hard is it to search up, go to Google, say, who is my representative for my district? Who's my senator for my state? Find them on Twitter, tweet at them, say, I think this is a dumb thing. Don't support it, or I would like to see you do this.
Well,
That's
dude,
at the basic level. Do that.
I'm telling you, my senators here know my name. I am in constant communication with my senators and representatives because I'm pissed. Because I'm pissed. They fucking voted to re-up the Patriot Act, and I want answers. I want to know, why we pulled out of Afghanistan and then you approved the Patriot Act? I thought the Patriot Act was because of the war that brought us to Afghanistan. Now that we're done, why do we still need it?
Yeah,
Were we still building 4,000 airplanes a day after World War II, or did we maybe slow down production? Get out of here with that. You don't need a wartime effort all the time. We just spent almost $1 trillion on our budget for military only.
Yeah. And now we're looking at another 3.5 trillion.
And this last one proved that it was there is no anti-war party anymore. Donald Trump vetoed the spending bill, saying you're spending too much money on the military. That's the commander-in-chief of the fucking military telling you he doesn't want that much money for the military. The Senate and the House both overrode him, which requires 2/3 of both houses to do that. And it passed with like 90% of both houses doing that. Because
what does that tell you?
They have stock in Raytheon, they have stock in Lockheed, they have stock in every war company that there is. There's money to be made in war. So much money to be made at our expense and at the expense of all the kids who are killed as collateral overseas. And there's mostly civilians being killed over there. Mostly civilians, including recently a humanitarian aid with 7 children drinking water from his containers.
Jesus.
They got blown up for drinking water. The audacity.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
See, and that's the whole other thing, because you can talk about the Kurds, you can talk about the and I always mispronounce what this group is called, but the Chinese Muslims, right?
Oh, the Uyghurs.
Yeah, the Uyghurs. You talk about them, and did not get the attention that they deserved whatsoever. And then
there is literally almost 2 million Muslims in concentration work camps in China right now.
Yeah.
No one cares.
And if we want to say we've made progress since the last 70 years,
we will never have concentration camps again unless it's China. They have a lot of money. We don't want to piss them off.
And that's a sad truth.
What is the point of the fucking League of our Nation, or not the League of Nations, the fucking United Nations? Same shit.
And then comes Afghanistan, right? Where, not to downplay the situation one bit, but for me, I sat there and I thought, finally, we are gonna have to own up to our responsibilities and our obligations. I said, finally, there's no way that we can leave all of these allies, and sound how many times have we said this, sound un-American or not, but yes, getting the Americans out is important, but there were hundreds of times more people that were natives there that had risked their entire existence to ally with us, right?
Yeah.
And first one's gone. See you later.
Our interpreters are being slaughtered by the Taliban. In the streets, they flew our Black Hawk helicopter that we left behind for them so nicely. They flew it over Kabul with someone hanging from underneath it for supporting the United States. We fucked. This was fucked. Not only have we fucked our allies over, like Australia, who still has troops there, like the UK, who still has troops there, like Canada, who still has troops there, like France, who still has troops there. There's multiple countries who still have troops there, and America was like, "See you, bitches," and we just left the party at 9:30.
And the problem was that, one of the problems was.
Don't get me wrong. We needed to get out, but not this way.
Well, that's the thing. It's basically like taking a pot in a plant and smashing it on the ground and then sweeping it up and say, "Did I do a good job?"
Yeah.
No, you didn't do a good job, but there was a right way and a wrong way to do it, and we literally just did it the worst possible way we could have. Because, you talk about all those countries that we left behind. we did not have any communication. We did not tell. It was like we turned our phone off and we went out that
Straight
night
up.
and we did our and
No.
we did our thing and we came back and we turned our phone on and said, "Oh, you guys, how come you didn't call me?" Like,
Guys, we were trying to tell you. We were at the bar. We told you to come to the bar last night, and you guys didn't show up. We never got a text
it's
from
like,
you. Oh, my phone must have died. Sorry, the text must not have gone through. Some bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. Plus, how many U.S. We have a lot of contractors over there still. Just because the military's out doesn't mean contractors are out. A lot of U.S. citizens.
well,
A lot of U.S.
and that was the
citizens.
problem. Is it doesn't take anybody with any military training at all. If you played COD one time, you could figure out, maybe take the guns out after the people are out.
Yeah.
Maybe. And you know, then it comes down to, well, who can we point the finger at? Well, the last administration, or the decision making, I didn't hear certain information, blah 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 blah. And it's like, or my favorite is blaming the Afghan military.
Right, that's
okay?
my. That's a great one. The Afghans don't even want to fight for themselves. Why should we fight for them? Bitch!
And it's like, okay, so we spent 20 years, so everyone's clear. And if I'm wrong,
Nope, you're
contact
correct.
Jake,
You're
not
correct.
contact Jake, not me.
Yeah.
But what happened was, we spent 20 years partnering with the Afghan military, and we set up an operation system where they were the ground troops, we were the air support, right? And Jake, if I'm wrong, jump in here at any time. But that was essentially the partnership, because what that did for the U.S. was limited the number of physical men that we were going to lose, and obviously that meant that the Afghanis are going to have to be the poker chips, I guess.
Right.
Well, what happened was, when we drew out, we took away literally how that military operated, and then but then others are going to try to blame the Afghan military by saying that they're not going to fight, when we literally just said, here, we're going to replace your gun for a rock, now go fight the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the most, and I here, or I think I was just getting back to the States when that was happening, and I just sat there and I thought, man, again, the Kurds and the Uyghurs, and now this, I said, this is, how can any ally of the U.S. really trust us? I mean, it's literally the most embarrassing thing on any level.
NATO has absolutely no reason to trust us for shit.
Mm-mm.
None at all. And honestly, I mean, it's just, yeah, we've really lost our. I want to talk about this Marine. What is his name? He was
the guy that killed Bin Laden.
No, I don't even like him at all. That guy's super annoying. God damn. Plus, he's not. It's coming out that he most likely isn't the one who sent the shots anyway. There's someone else who's like, bitch, I have proof that I took the shots. So yeah, he might just be coming out. He might be another Chris Kyle, who, if you didn't know, a lot of people don't know this. That movie American Sniper, all those stories, bullshit. They didn't happen. Independent studies have proven multiple times that the majority of his stories are fake. He did have all the kills, but not like the way he's saying that he did. They weren't like, he didn't. Yeah. And so.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I've not known that.
That story. Have you ever seen Inglourious Bastards? When the sniper movie in Inglourious Bastards?
Sadly, I haven't.
No.
Nope.
In Inglourious Bastards, there's a sniper movie that the Nazis make of like their heroic sniper who did all these things and came back. I'm like, oh my god, it's American Sniper. Oh my god, it's American Sniper.
Well, and that's the interesting thing too. Like, even as I was teaching, and we would play military or war movies, I told him, I said, take this as objective as you can, because understand, is there a message the director's wanting to send? Is there a message of patriotism or propaganda to any level? And again, it's just being objective. It's calling a spade a spade. And yeah, it's interesting to see how movies portray things.
Yeah.
And you walk out of there and you're like, yeah, man, maybe I'm going to join the military. And it's like, was that intended?
Mm-hmm. Not only that, you have to remember too, when you're getting help in movies from the military, when you want to use their equipment or their tactics, they approve scripts. Like, there's parts that they can take out of a movie if they don't like it. So, like, that's another big part. Like, the military is heavily involved. And even like NFL appreciation nights, that's paid for by the U.S. military. It's not like the NFL came out and was like, we really want to support the troops tonight. No, that was millions of dollars from the DoD. Like,
Yeah. Well, and again, like to the people listening, like this, take it however you want. You can take this as this is a horrible thing, or you can take this as, hey, yeah, this is what we do, and this is America,
scary.
and this is awesome.
New information's scary because you're finding out
Yeah.
things that you didn't know before, and that it's like a personal truth that's being broken. And it was, dude,
Yes.
you have to believe how hard it was for me to get over it. I mean, shit, I grew up in a uniform. Like it's like when I found out, when I saw the first time I ever saw the video of us killing journalists in Iraq with a gunship, and they kept saying like, keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting. And there was like a guy holding a camera, and then a van came in to try to save the people, and then they blew up the van too and killed everyone in the van, including a child. You know, like when I saw that, I was like, that is not the military I want to join. Like, what in the fuck is this? And then like all my friends would come back from war, and I was like, what'd you guys do over there? They were like, protected oil fields, pretty much. Like, you know, it's weird. They're sending a whole generation of warfighters over, and we're all finding, like, the whole generation is finding out, like, it's not real. It's all bullshit. And so, like, you got a lot of, you know, a lot of the people that stormed the Capitol were former military. They're pissed off, you know, like.
That's one thing that I found so interesting is when I was selling cars, I worked with a guy that was in the Navy, and he was, and it was fun because even back then, that was before I was a teacher. It was a small dealership I worked at, and there were like 5 or 6 of us salesmen, and of course everybody knew who was a Republican, who was a Democrat, except for me. Because
when Michaela got her car, is that the?
Yep. And so, but everybody knew where everyone else stood politically, except for me, because I like it better when people don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, and so this guy that I worked with served in the Navy. And I just could not understand how somebody in the military could be so liberal, so on the left, a stout Democrat. And, you know, after speaking with him, he basically kind of alluded to what you've already said, you know, because he had firsthand experience of the reasons behind whatever they were doing was. And he said he no longer, you know, he doesn't regret his time in the military. And obviously, like, that's not to say there's a lack of support from the military in my perspective, because there isn't. But it is super interesting to speak with people that do have their mindset change because of that.
Yep, especially people who went to war. A big thing that, and I don't like to get into it because I never truly served. I got medically disqualified before I could. But people who do like the 4 years and leave and kind of stay in the National Guard stateside and do that thing are very loud about how much they love the military. Like, oh yeah, fuck you, stand behind the troops, stand in front of a motherfucker. Like, you know, like watching Jarhead on the weekends for fun type deal. And then you get the dudes who've been in for 20 years and got deployed. And, I mean, they come back and they're like, man, fuck my senator. I hope someone shoots him. You know, like, they are so not for it. It's because they went and saw what's actually going on. Like, the National Guard is great, gets you through college, but, like, it gets your patriotism up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the people who went over and served, even, like, the National Guardsmen that went over and came back, like, one of my best friend's dads, and, like, even, like, what his opinion before going and after going are different. And he's the first to admit it, you know? And it's that's what Vietnam vets said too. When they went to Vietnam thinking they're going to go help the Vietnamese and they're getting harassed by the Viet Cong, and then they get there and they find out we're just loading up just everyone we can, just mowing down people in fields and shit. They're like, what in the fuck is this? Yeah, wild.
Yeah. Well, and that should show people, you know, again, that it's all about listening to the other side, right? And you can't just assume that because somebody is in the military or supports it, you can't assume that their political beliefs are left or right or what have you. And that's the thing, man. It's just like everybody's life experiences have led them to the beliefs that they have or the choices that they're making. And quite frankly, if you didn't live their life, you really don't know how they're making their decision, or why their opinion is this way, or why they're freaking out and not listening to the other side of the story. And that's again another tough pill to swallow.
One of the toughest things for people to swallow is realizing that they were wrong. Realizing that I fucked up And trust me, I used to be when I was a kid, I was the most war hungry, like, let's fucking go get them, yeah! Like, I remember, because I was literally coming home from a national color guard competition when I was a cadet, like, in my blues uniform, finding out that Bin Laden got shot, and my friends and I were, like, just dancing, having, like, let's go drink, like, because we had, and now, I was like, why didn't Bin Laden ever get indicted by a court? Why did we just have to believe the CIA that he was a criminal?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I
it's
start
just like
questioning more things. Like, why? What was the real reason? Like, he was because he turned from a financier to then he was the head of the 9/11 attacks. But now that's not the case. Now they have another guy who said planned and executed 9/11. So who was Bin Laden?
Well, and that's the thing, is two things to go off that. One, were a majority of the 9/11 bombers not from Saudi Arabia,
They
but
were.
for some reason.
And that night, the White House said Saudi Arabia is ruled out. That night! September
That's what I'm
11th,
saying.
2001, by 9 p.m., they ruled out Saudi Arabia. Crazy.
That's what I'm saying. That's point one.
Five
Point two
of the
is
9.
yeah. And then point two is, well, yeah, that's a great question about Bin Laden. Why didn't we do X, Y, Z, and why are we trusting what our intelligence is telling us? Well,
Let me ask you something. You ever see his body?
World War II. Have you ever heard what happened with Hitler's body?
Hitler made it to Argentina. Get the fuck out of here. Hitler made it to Argentina, and I'll tell you how that happened. I listened to a book on audio tape from a former Green Beret, who is now he went back for his degree in history, and now he's an investigative journalist as to what happened. Turns out the body that the Soviets recovered was a blonde female's body. Ava Braun was brunette, and Adolf Hitler has a penis. So, as far as we know. And so, this guy tracked down all the other Nazis that made it to Argentina in that little colony of theirs. And apparently this guy says that there's literal evidence of a direct family ties to Adolf Hitler in Argentina, suggesting that he made it out.
Wild.
Yep.
Well,
and that's no, you can't. But like literally, the body is proven to not be his, and it's still up. Like people still teach that he committed suicide in the bunker, but there's no evidence of that.
Well, see, and that's what made being a teacher so interesting, was that exact, and that's why I brought it up, because we talk about, well, do you trust the information that we're given? Because yeah, that's how I learned it growing up in high school. And then in college, I found out that wasn't necessarily the case. And then I come back and I'm teaching high schoolers and I see it in the textbook and I say, okay, again, this is how we interpret history. You have to understand where we're getting our information from, what we're reading, and who writes history, right? The losers don't write history, the winners do. And I said, take from this what you will. Here's what the textbook says. Here's what other information has presented to us, has told us, and it is up to you how you want to decipher that. But you need to, I told those kids, I said, you need to understand that when you read things in history books, you sadly are not getting the full story, and you just need to take into account what I'm giving you. But for the love of all things in the world, if it interests you, research it more, and you'd be surprised.
Well, that's the thing. I need to finish on Bin Laden just because there is another side to this coin. Like,
okay, yeah.
We took him in a bag, right? The body footage, the body cam footage up to when they got to his room is released, but not up to when they actually see the face and when they pull the trigger. That's not there. So they take him out to sea, and they do an identifier, a DNA identifying thing, and fingerprint identifying on the dead body, and then they don't want to have a martyr, so they dump him in the ocean. That's the official thing. Now, what I read from former people who were in on the raid were saying that they were very trigger happy at the person and that they fucking mutilated this guy's body to the point where his face was just foobarred with bullets. And so if the picture of his face ever got let out, people would start throwing in the question, well, what is SEAL Team 6 fucking doing? Why are they that ridiculous with killing someone? So that's the other side of the coin of why maybe we never saw the body. So that's another. So you don't know. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a difficult world to maneuver, man.
Here's a question I got for you. Then I'll pose this question: who would you trust? Because you mentioned this. I don't even know the guy's name, but the guy that claims that he's the one that killed him. who would you trust more? An intelligence official or a guy that was at least there?
But obviously, for me, the guy that was there, I trust more. But what I want to know is, I just want the data. Show me that you got his fingerprints. Show me that you got his DNA.
Yeah.
I want to know,
Yeah.
especially of a country made by the people, of the people, and for the people. Me wanting to know that is not too much to fucking ask. People really have forgotten that the government is an extension of us. They are not separate. If we want to know something, they should show us. That's how that works.
Well, and not only that, but how, again, give me a good reason why not, right?
Yep.
Why could we not have that information?
Well, still, like, why is there fluoride in our water?
Well, please,
for your teeth.
that's a whole nother thing. Is if when I was doing the Flint water crisis stuff,
we should talk about that quick. You tell your story, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I told you, man, if we're gonna do multiple episodes, I can just feel it already.
Cool.
Here's the thing. So when I was doing the Flint water crisis thing, and I was there, I had people there explain to me that I don't know how this information they got it, but they basically said that in every single state in continental U.S. there are pipes that are in the same condition as the ones in Flint, and to hear that is one of the biggest things that I'll take away is the fact that we talk about being a first world country and we're great because of X, Y, and Z. But every single state, there's at least one town where they're drinking water that's not good for them.
Most of those sewage systems were built at the same time during the Industrial Revolution when we had the New Deal. So they're all made of the same shit. They all got buried at the same time. And, it's going to be tough to fix this one.
That's the thing.
Really, like the cheapest option, instead of doing new pipes, everyone in their house should just put a fucking RO system in their house. Like, just get an RO water system. They're not expensive, and drink from that. God damn, I kept breathing in my own spit. I get, like, whenever I talk so fast, I just start fucking breathing in my own spit, and it's ridiculous.
But yeah, no, that's the truth, and that's that. When I first went out there, I honestly thought, I was a naive college student. I thought, hey, this is going to be, we can fix this. They need temporary help right now, but we can fix this. And geez, what are we, over 5 years removed from that? And the story hasn't changed.
We're more than 5 years removed from that. That was like, but that was shit. That was a long time ago.
I think it was 2014, I want to say.
2014, 2015 when that shit happened, somewhere around there.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Because that was when Bray and I were in our first apartment still.
Yeah, by the potato factory.
Yeah, stank. Yeah, stunk like a motherfucker in there. Yeah, dude. Yep. Yeah, I remember that. You guys, that was a long fucking trip.
Yeah, that was wild.
What did you guys drive out there?
What did we drive out there?
Yeah. Like, was it your own cars, or was it like a U-Haul, or what was it?
Yeah, so originally, because I had like two classes. I had classes 2 days a week that semester because I was like basically done with school. And it took me longer than I thought, but that's why I had one nice semester. And so the plan was just going to be to drive like my old Subaru. I had like a small Subaru Crosstrek, and I was like, well, I just really want to go out there and see it for myself, and maybe if they see somebody, and if they see somebody that like drove this far just to like bring them a couple cases of water, like maybe it'd be a morale booster, if anything, And that's why I called Bray, and Bray was like, it just slowly turned into, well, why don't we just take my vehicle? And we just started taking, Bray didn't go, but we had some UND guys go. And so the first trip, a lot of us took our personal vehicles. Man, I don't know how many we had that trip, 5 vehicles probably. And then like 1 or 2 U-Hauls when we got there, because people just kept throwing donations our way, and we said, hey, we're going to donate whatever you guys donate to us. Yeah, it was wild, man. So like we were at the grocery store.
Dude,
we were at the grocery store
into that fucking thing. I thought I was all helping. I'm like, look at me go. Here's my money.
Oh man,
like
dude, that
18,
was awesome.
When you're like 18, you really think you're changing the world, man. You really do. You're like, look at
Yeah, it was wild, man, and the support was awesome, and we appreciated it all, and yeah, so we were there and we were buying water, and guys were coming up to me and they're like, we're still getting money, and I'm like, go get a U-Haul, and so we got a U-Haul and we filled up more water, and Where was that? I think that was Lansing, Michigan, maybe. And then we got to Flint, and yeah, and then we saw what it was actually like, and man, that again, coming from a rural town of like 800 people
Flint
to
is
that.
rough, dude.
It is, man, there are gravel roads that are nicer than the paved roads there. Like
I
it
know.
is rough. And then yeah, we got that trip done, and I had people asking me, when I got back, they said, "Would you go out again?" And I said, "Hey, if the money is there to do it, yeah, 100%." And so took a second trip out there, and yeah, I think I don't even remember how much we donated. We donated like
You guys had a
uh
crazy amount of water bottles.
yeah,
Crazy amount.
it was ridiculous. Well, and that was the thing too, is once we got out there, I started thinking like, yo, this is a lot of water bottles. Like, imagine the like waste effort to get those water bottles like recycled or
Yeah.
whatever. And that was like the next problem that I saw that existed. And obviously we weren't able to do anything about that at that time, but man, I just couldn't believe, like, just from what we took, not even to account for the fact that that was like a micro fraction of what people were really using there.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Flint is like a lot. Detroit gets so much attention, but Flint really needs a little bit of attention too. God damn, that city's having a tough go.
Yeah.
God.
Let's see here. Yeah, I'm looking back on Instagram, and it looked like after the two trips, we did 44,000 bottles of water, and then we had $500 left over that we ended up donating.
Damn.
So yeah, that was crazy,
That's
man.
cool.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. It's like, we talk about how people feel like they can't make a change, like in government, or they're unhappy with X, Y, and Z. It's like, the saddest thing is quite frankly, when a governing body or any organization gets too big, it does get inefficient, and that's where you got to step up and just do stuff like that. Where, did it help long term? No, but did it let people know that other human beings are out there for them? Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe that sends a
definitely.
bigger message.
Well, yeah. Back to Afghanistan, quick, because this just popped up.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller gets released tomorrow from the brig. He's the guy he made a video like, I want answers as to why so many of my men died for this, and you withdrew this way. Like, he basically just called out his leadership, asking what the fuck was that, and he got court-martialed on 6 charges for that. And then people wonder why they don't trust their leadership. Like, we have such low morale in the Marine Corps. What is it? The Marine that everyone loves, Stuart Scheller. You are court-martialing him. And so, the most famous Marine in history, Chesty Puller, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's ascended to God level. He's ascended to God level, basically, with the Marines. And one of his most famous quotes is, "Take me to the brig where the real Marines are." And it's one of my favorite quotes, because that's what everyone's saying about this guy. And so the Marine Corps is releasing him tomorrow because everyone is fucking pissed. They're still charging him, but they're letting him out of the brig. But people are fucking livid, man.
Jeez.
Yeah. Imagine court-martialing someone for, like, wanting answers to why you fucking killed all of his friends. Which is what happened.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, again, it goes back to how hard is it to hold people accountable, right? Like, when that whole Afghanistan thing happened, it was just constant. Let's point the finger to somebody that really can't deny it because they don't have a microphone in their face, right? And whether that be the past administration or that be the Afghanis or whoever, I mean, there was no accountability. And man, like I said, that to me, that was just one of the most saddest times. It was literally, I was embarrassed to be an American when that whole Afghanistan played out.
A lot of people were very embarrassed. Like, people on social media were like, on behalf of Americans everywhere, we are not a part of our government anymore. We are so sorry for this.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is, that embarrassment that I felt, and like you saying, people tweeting stuff like that. What I found very interesting in talking with people from different countries is they don't look at us like that. They look at it as, wow, their government is stupid. They don't look at it as, Americans, screw you guys, we can't trust you.
Thank God.
Yeah,
I know. We're good people, man. We're good people. We just have fucking dumbasses in our government.
Yeah.
And it's
Well, and that's the thing too. Like when I was when the events happened at the Capitol, right? I was here watching it
live.
happen live there. And it was kind of cool because I was talking to my parents as it was going on, and the news here was like 8 seconds ahead of the news there.
Yep.
So I was watching things play out sooner. And I just remember like the Europeans here watching it were just like, oh yeah, like this is what like all right, this is something. And I was sitting there like shocked,
Yeah.
like shell shocked, like oh my gosh, like this is really happening. And then they were asking me questions like, how do you feel about this? And I'm like, I'm honestly in complete dismay. And I was like, what do you guys think about this? And they're like, this stuff happens all the time here in Europe, no big deal.
Yeah, it does. They're constantly rioting and shit. They don't fucking care.
Yeah.
The thing is, the reason our government freaked out so much is like, I mean, we just had years of riots in the streets and there was no accountability for any of that. I mean, we were literally watching city officials drop off pallets of bricks on street corners to help out with riots. Like, are we going to act like we forgot that happened? That's not a conspiracy theory. We have it on video. We watched them drop off bricks for people to riot with. Get the fuck out of here. And those are the same people that we're supposed to trust now with this, by the way, with COVID pandemic. Same people. Yeah, I'm so sick of it all. It makes me sick. Our leaders are disgusting.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like, I've just been, since I was honestly, probably right before the Flint, like campaign, I was just like, you know what, man, as soon as I can, I'm going to run for president. And my plan is I'm going to run for president. I'm going to try to get my voice out there. And do I think I can win? That's not my goal. What I want to do is I want to say, here's my platform, right?
Yeah.
Sounds pretty realistic. Sounds pretty common sense driven. And then my goal is to get an actual politician to say, that actually sounds really good. And a lot of people seem to like that. So I'm going to adopt that campaign or platform and go with that.
Ideas are always more powerful than people are.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, and I think that's why I'm so like, I haven't given this forward party a good read through on what their platform really entails, because I know they want to do term limits, but it looks like they want to do like 18 years or something like that. And so I haven't gone through their platform, but I'm super encouraged to see Yang doing this, because I'm like, geez, if he does this, like that's already a big enough voice to put forward
I think
some type of agenda.
People forget how Yang started. He literally, his very first presidential campaign letter was to his 25 Gmail contacts. That's how he started out. It wasn't like he fucking got funding from anything. He just sent out emails saying, hey, I'm going to run for president. Let me know if you guys want to come down and support me somewhere. And that's how it started. Now look at him.
Well, and then of course, it helps that he's an entrepreneur and that his main platform goal was the basic, what did he call it? The universal basic income or whatever.
Yeah, and the thing is with UBI is like it's going to be a tough cookie to solve this one, because we've seen job decline over the years and population growth, and automation is literally taking over jobs. Like it just is.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. Mm-hmm. And you can deny it all you want, but like there's self-driving trucks. How long till truck drivers are out of a job? Like there's already
go to McDonald's right now.
Well, for real. Like that's what I'm talking. So like at some point, there's just not enough jobs for people. And I'm not saying that's right now, because everywhere in their brother is hiring. That's a completely different story, because they're only hiring for like $12.84 and they want a master's degree for it. So like it's obviously it's like a worthless job. You're like losing money getting a job that way. But it's just I don't know, man. It's fucking wild.
Yeah. It's crazy. Well, geez, man, it seems like we literally could have like, I feel like we've gone on a billion tangents and we could literally spend like 2 hours on each tangent. Oh man.
Yeah, we've only brushed
wild.
the most things.
Yeah, like we haven't even touched mental health.
Oh, Jesus titties. Can we discuss that? No, dude, mental health. We'll do that next one. We're at 3 hours right now. We'll do an episode 2. We'll make sure we do a second one.
Dude, that I'm down anytime, man. You just say, well, and going back, like you're like, yeah, you should start a podcast. I'm like, honestly, I had plans to, and that's why I was like, I had talked to you about like Anchor and all that, and see like what you know about it and all this, because I'm like, yeah, I'd like to do one. But honestly, then when you and I were like setting this up, I'm like, honestly, I'm just gonna wait, see how this goes, and then, geez, man, you want to do one like a duo? I'd be down.
Yeah,
If
dude.
you don't, that's fine.
It's
Like,
dope. It's a good.
man,
It's a fun show, man. We could even make a
yeah,
new
man.
show. Even yeah, dude. The reason why Anchor didn't work out for me was because I run a full-on network. Like I have multiple shows, and they only provide one hosting service for one show. So I'd have to make like
Okay.
a new email and a new account for every. Fuck that. I'm not no. So that's the
Yeah.
thing, And I'm where I'm at. I make more money than I spend on it, so it's whatever. It's fine.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, dude. Like, I remember seeing you guys in Minneapolis when you guys were there,
Yep.
and then knowing that you were going to Vegas, and I was like, man, he's gonna go to Vegas, huh? Like,
Yeah.
hope it works out for him. But it's like, dude, you, like I said, man, you just from the post and all that
Man,
stuff.
life
I'm
is
like,
what you make of it. I took Vegas by the balls, man.
yeah, and I'm
City,
like,
my
yo,
bitch.
you're chasing the dreams, and like I said, you and your new girl, I hope that works out because you look just
Yeah,
happier
dude.
than ever, dude.
It'll work out. Trust me, it'll work out. There's plans on the horizon for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to spoil it on a podcast episode,
No,
though.
she's aware of what's coming up. She knows.
Nice, man. That's
it's,
awesome.
It's whatever. It's whatever. It's not like this year. That's not by
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, have you heard? There, of course, we'll get on another side tangent real quick here.
of course.
There, I don't know. Doctors of some kind, scientists of some kind, have basically said that if certain facial features match up in two people within a couple, then they are X times more likely to get married. And I've been ever since I learned this. Yeah, ever since I learned this back when I was in college, I have been paying attention to all of my friends and their facial features, and when they post stuff on. So all I'm gonna say is you guys have some good facial features.
Well, thanks, dude. Appreciate my facial features. Appreciate that. Currently my camera broke again. Oh, it's fixed again. Oh, that's cool. God damn this fucking software, dude. Yeah, I mean it's it's kind of expensive. I mean I had to slowly get all this shit, but I got the way to, if you're a podcaster, if you want a podcast, the best way to do it, in every platform there's like an ads run, like you can run ads through them. Fuck that.
Yeah.
They pay you cents on the dollar. Like I think
Really?
cost per mile is like 32 cents. So which is like every 1,000 listens is 32 cents. Fuck that.
Jeez.
Yeah, you'll have to be Joe Rogan before you start making money. So
Yeah.
So the best, if you want to do it yourself, I host my own shit now. I have servers over here. I host everything myself, and I go out and I get my own sponsors, like contract my own sponsors on the side. So I get paid like on monthly intervals instead of whenever the sponsors
nice.
feel like yeah. So there's a better way of doing it than how most people do it, and money is why podcasts fail. If people aren't making money, they're wasting their time. And
I suppose. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing.
Think
Like,
of it as a new game plan. You can't go with the if everyone else is doing something, you will never make money going the same way as all of them. There's too many fucking people that way. You got to go your own way. And my own way was to go get my own sponsors by myself. And all these podcasting platforms are like, better not. Like, we won't let you host here. It's like, I'll go somewhere else. Fuck you. Like, I don't.
Yeah. So what do? You just do your ads, like just voiceovers of yourself, and then you just clip them into your
I just read them
thing, or what?
Yeah, they get clipped in during breaks and shit, and yeah.
So then if you would partner with like a platform to do it, then they would just have like an automated one before, or they would just add them into your thing.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Yeah.
A lot of sponsors send their own voices too. Like you don't even need. A lot of people have pre-made clips that they like to use. They spend money on their PR teams to make this shit. So like they'll send you a 30-second clip, they'll send you a minute clip or something, and then you just send it in. It's very easy.
Nice.
Yeah,
that does sound easy. Well, and that's the thing. That's why I was getting like
one
jacked
ad
about.
that I have to read. I only have one reading ad. That's it. All the other ones people send me their own shit for.
Nice. Yeah, that was why I was so jacked about podcasts, because like I said, when I was doing YouTube, it was so, not that there's any more or less work, but I feel like editing audio clip might be a little bit more straight to the point than it would be trying to edit audio and video and
video
transitions
components
and all
are much
that.
harder. And I do video too. It's just that's the part that takes forever. The audio part's fucking over. The video
Yeah,
part, lining,
yeah.
it's because the audio and video record separately, so you have to line it up and make sure it's all right. So if you cut something, you have to cut the same amount of video and audio. And if you're off by like a millisecond, like throughout the video, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's like,
Yep.
fuck. So it's the
Yep.
little things like that.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Yeah.
It's definitely been a learning curve. This hasn't been an overnight thing, man. It took years for me to figure this shit out the way I figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like like I said, with me looking for different remote style of income, different streams of income, and being able to do it remotely, I'm like, I got to learn like as much as I can, whether it's copywriting or podcasting or whatever, you know. And
dude,
I'm
copyrights are
doing.
so fun.
Is it? Yeah.
No, copyrights suck. Everyone and
Oh
their
man.
brother copyright strikes you for anything. You have to I've had to protest like 4 things already because people are just like, well, it's mine. It's like, it's actually not. It's in the public domain, and public domain includes free usage for educational purposes or conversation-style videos such as these. Please allow my video. Okay. He's just a bitch. It's like, dude, why does YouTube not know? Like, YouTube should follow the rules first. Like, if they don't, just because someone says you took their shit doesn't mean they should just automatically take down your video. Fucking review it, dude.
Yeah. Well, I guess innocent until proven guilty isn't a thing in the
That's how
YouTube
it
world.
works. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway.
No way, man.
All right, man. Well, we'll catch up next time, dude.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, dude. We'll see you later. Peace out.
Adios.